You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy Episode 10. We have officially in the double digits. I am Jared. I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
So today we are talking about social media and SuperWonder. So this is an interesting topic because there's a lot of for some reason I've been on a big social media kick in terms of like comic books and sales and such. So it's really interesting how all of this factors in together. So what we're doing, I pulled up the social media accounts for DC, Superman, Wonder Woman, SuperWonder, and I did some social media searches for Wonder Bat because as I was talking to Britt backstage, it was like there's really no like big centralized account for that stuff.
Right. Even for Clovis, there's only like one account that but they're sporadic too. So, I mean, with all the shipping accounts, the only sole accounts, they're very small. The only time they actually grow is if they're used other characters, like the Wonder Bat account that is just based on the animated series. So he posts, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern. He posts, mainly Batman or something like that. And so I wouldn't say that's a fair count of the shipping. So yeah, so I pretty much disregard that account. But any sole shipping accounts, yeah, they're pretty low on the totem pole. But our, Superman and Wonder Woman account is at 55K.
Nice.
And it's solely just for shipping. And it's like, it really shows well, first, with Instagram, the difference between Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is more, fast-paced news. It's not so much as for images. You do have videos going viral. You do have that kind of stuff going viral, but it's mostly news. And with the transition of being Twitter X, how it's censoring stuff and just pretty much a toxic cesspool, people are gravitating more to other social sites. So you have Instagram, and Instagram is mostly, visual because you just post photos. And that really says a lot too, that people gravitate visually to Superman and Wonder Woman to gain naturally to such a huge following.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I got into a debate with someone and they said they tried to claim that there's more like Superman, there's more like Wonder Bat or Clovis content on social media, and I'm like, really, where? Because I've never seen it.
With Wonder Bat is really like, there was one account that actually took Superman and Wonder Woman from New 52 and Batcat and even Talia panels from official comic images, and they would edit it to be Clark would be Batman, or Diana would be Talia or Selena.
Legit, I saw a post once, so I was checking it out, and it looked like a legit comic. So I'm looking at it. It was an image of Diana with Bruce on top of her, and he's kissing her neck very like erotically. It's from an actual comic. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, something doesn't feel right, because first off, I think I would know if there was actually a panel of this in mainstream DC. So I take a look at it. the tiara is messed up because it's only one arm on the tiara. So I'm like, you realize this is photoshopped, right? And this person didn't realize it.
Right. They would post these images like they were from, real comics, and they would say it too. It was like, no, this is not, true. How could you set in your mind to even, put this out here? I know that many people, they do, we do fan fictions, we do edits of photos,
Mhm.
but we would say so. We would say that this is edited.
It's the
We
point of it's a
wouldn't,
fan edit or a fan
yeah,
fiction.
we would not just go and lie like that and say, no, this is real. And then you have so many people that will take that image and use it too. And like, and, say this is canon or whatever like that. And it's like, no. And to be, if you are truly, I guess, in belief or, of your ship, you wouldn't have to do anything like that. You wouldn't have
Mhm.
to lie. You wouldn't
Exactly.
have to edit photos. Like, I mean, taking from other ships, you do have inspiration, or sometimes you do get into like petty little, you know, spats here and there.
Oh
So you
yeah.
would do that in fun. You
Mhm.
would edit a photo. But to actually just
Pass
claim
it
it
off.
as,
Yeah.
yeah, pass it off, claim it as something real, I totally just do not respect that.
In school,
um
that's called plagiarism.
right. I mean, even in comics they plagiarized Tom King. I mean,
Yes, exactly. Legit. Someone used that as someone used that particular issue. I know what you're talking about. So it was an issue where Batman and Wonder Woman have to go to this other dimension to fight a war. I send this to Britt, and she's like, "That is legit a plagiarized Immortal Beloved." And I told this to the person that sent that to me as evidence of Wonderbat in the mainstream canon, and I said, "A, that's a ripoff of a Super Wonder scene, and B, that's where Batman says it's never gonna happen."
right. I mean, with both stories are terrible.
Yeah.
The original is terrible because it's a bait and switch, and we've already, gone through that most of Superman and Wonder Woman's stories are bait and switch.
Hmm.
And that one was probably it was in the prime of basically DC, trying to go back and forth with the marriage and wanting people to basically stop shipping, Superman with Wonder Woman or anyone else, which of course that failed.
That,
But
well, I can tell you that one thing that ain't happening.
right. So you go to the extreme. And
Mhm.
with that story, it's like you think about it in a psychological way that no one would actually be like that.
Mhm.
And you wrote yourself in a corner, because if it was that they did, actually, give into their feelings that had pretty much led up to that scene, you would end up having a cheating scandal.
Yeah.
The the only thing that actually has Superman and Wonder Woman's um that version better is because it was mutual. It
Mhm.
was it was from Clark's perspective of him knowing that, he's with Diana, that he does have feelings for her. And it's like he wants to in a way be with her. I mean, they even had like a um two or three follow-ups with it, with Meeks, whatever his name is, uh
Lee
taunting,
Weeks or something like that.
no, the little villain, little
Oh, the villain. Oh,
yeah, I just
Mixelplick.
butchered, yeah, his name. I just,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to say it is awful for me. So, taunting Clark about, he's insane because he, had that chance to play tonsil hockey with Diana. And Clark like gets so mad
Did
at
he
that.
really
And
call it tonsil hockey?
yeah, Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's
I don't,
like,
so there
you
was a scene that so I occasionally go on a friend of mine's channel to to talk about well he'll go over Superman stories with me. So we're going after a story over stories written by Greg Rucka involve Mixie. So he goes back. So Mixie leaves the comic book and enters the office of Mike Carlin. Yes. And then Carlin is playing with Superman and Wonder Woman action figures. And he's like, "Oh, Diana, there's something I have to talk to you about in the back room."
wow. I see they have these fun, I mean, teasers throughout the years of, you can take it seriously or not. It's just teasers.
Mhm.
So that's what that story was very much a big teaser. And then at the end, like I said, because you're writing yourself in a corner, it would have been a cheating scandal.
Mhm.
But you have that tease, and then you have the one where Clark gives Diana a tiny little hammer, for Christmas.
And they see here's the thing about that. They obviously kiss. I looked at that scene recently because I was going through DC Universe, so I was flipping through it. I looked at that scene closely. Their face shadows are like facing each other, and they're like practically one. So I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
that's definitely not a hug. I mean, the whole fight scene, the sparring scene is very like intimate already because you
Their
have them.
breaths are like mixing. That is just that's one of the most erotic scenes in a comic book.
And you have Diana on top of him, like when they're trying to hide it, they have the shadows. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like, okay, you're not really hiding
No, I
anything.
know what they're doing.
So yeah, with
So
the hug, embrace, whatever, it's just the way that it's drawn, even with trying to have the shadows, it looks like they kiss. So yeah, that story, it is still awful. Immortal Beloved, it's still awful. But the follow-ups, make it a little bit more, I don't know, uh, a little bit more depth or knots with it
well,
or whatever.
the thing about Immortal Beloved, when you think about it, so yeah, they thought it'd be a cheating scandal. Would it though? Because as far as they knew, Lois was dead and buried because they've been there for 1,000 years.
It Yes, but the reality still would have been that to them it was 1,000 years, but to her or
Mm.
anyone else it was like just, I don't know, 10 minutes. So yeah, it still would have, been
God.
that cheating scandal. Now with
Then
Tom
don't do it
King's,
then.
right now with Tom King's, he actually had Diana be like a temptress. She is the one scene that really stood out that was just totally out of character was when they was at the waterfall and she's like, you know, all watered down or whatever, and she's saying that you love her, talking about Selena, you love her, you miss her, but you're here with me. And she's basically
Oh.
trying to seduce him. And it's like, Diana would never ever do this. Why are you doing this? And she's pushing herself on Bruce, and he has no, like, he does not have any type of, you know, romantic feeling for her. And the only reason why he even tried, well, that bait and switch of them leaning in for a kiss or whatever
That
is
was the
like
best. That was the
she
utter best because they're leaning in. That's where it ends the issue as well, Britt. It's not just because actually, coincidentally enough, I'm collecting the trades for the Tom King Batman, and I forgot that that was collected in the trade. So I'm reading through it, and I'm like, wait a second, this looks familiar. It
yeah.
ends on them leaning in. The next issue picks up. It's like Tom King was like, okay, let me hint, and then all of a sudden the first issue starts, and Batman's like, nope, never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like, why did you even do that? Well, at first, the whole thing about doing this story, which makes it even worse, is because Diana wasn't supposed to be in that story at all. It was supposed to be Hal Jordan as a do like bachelorette
It's a bachelor party. That's
bachelor
great.
party. And but I think the artist, um Joelle Jones, she didn't want to draw that.
Mm.
That so she wanted to draw Wonder Woman. So I'm guessing, just speculation here of Tom King didn't have a story. He was like, oh well, he Tom King is he knows the lore, you
Hmm.
know. So for you not to claim that you don't know this story and how it was like page by page pretty much the same exact thing, dude, come on, like we
Hmm.
know you did this, but he
Yeah.
wants to pass it off as he never knew the story. Um so that's what makes it even worse is that you're lying, about not knowing the story. You use the same exact beats, just change it up just a little bit, and then
And the fun part, you even have the same conclusion as well.
right, and then but your only switch is not Thor. You have the gentleman. Then you have Diana basically being the temptress instead of it being actually mutual with, you know, with Bruce because he never had any feelings for her in the first place. Um, but yeah, so with this kind of story, I honestly would never ever use that for an argument,
Mm-mm.
to support my ship. I
But
wouldn't.
on that note, we're talking a bit because yeah, I had that same interaction on social media. By the way, look at this. Looks like a very informative account. By the way, with the 55.1 followers, 1,000 followers. Congratulations on that. So
Oh wait, we've hit 50.1 now. Oh my God, it was just like so we've gained over 100 followers in like a night.
oh wow,
That's
nice.
wonderful.
So hey, there you go. So and by the way, again, episode 10. So in the 9 episodes we've done so far, this will make 10. This has become the breakaway success of the channel. So I'm like, okay, wow, I knew that if I did this content, this would be big. I just didn't think it would be this big.
Well, because it's like with Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship. And I mean, you can see articles whether for or against. You can see the Twitter conversations. Either way, you're gonna have a debate. You're gonna have conversation, and
Mhm.
that's really what you need, for social, interactions or whatever. I've met so many wonderful people within this fandom because of Superman and Wonder Woman, um, but then I've met a bunch of horrible people, that are
Oh,
anti.
as a YouTuber, I know exactly what you're talking about. See, here's what you have to understand, Britt, with me in the DC audience. I'm what's called doubly screwed because not only do I ship Superman and Wonder Woman and think that the new 52 was the best thing that ever happened to DC, I am a diehard Snyderverse fan.
Yeah, it's yeah, you've got a couple of swords on you,
Oh,
you know.
oh I got a freaking trident in my backyard.
I mean, the thing is, New 52, Snyderverse, Superman and Wonder Woman, um, these aren't they weren't safe concepts. And this is the problem with DC fans or fans in general. They hate change. They
Mhm.
hate they hate having to get out of their own bubble. And with Snyderverse, you know, that was very ambitious. You had and we'll talk about this more in depth too, that you had a Superman that he wasn't dark. That's
No,
that's the thing that
anyone
I
that
don't
tells
like.
you, and this is one thing another Comics Day co-host Nick always says, anyone that thinks that Man of Steel was a dark movie didn't watch the movie.
Yeah, it's not dark or edgy. You're thinking just because he doesn't have the red trunks or
Mhm.
he's not smiling all the time or you know,
Saving a
it,
cat from a tree.
yeah, or that the problem isn't solved quickly, that it actually has, shows the consequences of certain things. They claim edgy and dark. No, it's called
Mm-mm.
storytelling.
Yeah, it's called having a
And
character arc.
yeah, so with with Snyder, he put Superman in a real world reality. It was how the world would actually react to him.
Hmm.
They didn't they didn't um react so quickly to embrace him. He actually wasn't so quick. I wouldn't say the reluctance, is how you would feel. You would question, should I actually do this? At some point you would. And he didn't.
Well, and yeah, and that was my whole thing. That's why I say the best like rendition of Superman that Snyder ever did is actually BVS. Because when you watch BVS, not only does the most powerful scene I think in BVS is when they're interspersing the media with Superman saving people. Everyone's always like doubting him and doubting if he has. They're questioning him. Is he here as a threat or something like that? But they keep interspersing it with clips of Superman just saving people. And what that means to me is that, yeah, Superman's not looking for your approval. He's going to save people no matter what you're telling him. And the whole thing about him, oh, he like left humanity and went walking in the snow. By the way, that's straight from John Byrne, Man of Steel, the series that everyone always holds up as Superman. Like legit, Britt. I looked at it. It's because I was recently I've started doing a first time reread of John Byrne's Man of Steel series, and it's
Yeah.
legit, like almost beat for beat, Man of Steel the movie. Like, this is what I love about Snyder, because when he adapts something, either he recreates it flawlessly, as in the case of 300, or he 100% of the time gets the spirit of what he's adapting.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that Cavill's
Hmm?
um Superman was post crisis.
Oh yeah,
He
post
the only
crisis
thing
mixed with new 52. The reason why I say more post crisis is because of the lowest thing. Because if he was 100% new 52, he'd be with Diana, and that movie would have made $1 billion.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it was leaning more on post crisis, especially with Death of Superman and Lois and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And pretty much, and also the thing is that Clark, well, we know that the scene in Justice League when Diana is that lasso scene is nerfed because you have to have Lois, basically snap him out of it. But even more so, that would trying to say that Clark is the who he is, instead of Cal. So that's more post crisis as well.
And the thing about that lasso scene, by the way, you could say that the lasso started to snap him out of it and Lois pushed it over the edge. You can still give credit to Diana. My one issue with that scene is, how does Diana know that his name is Kal-El and he's the last son of Krypton? My answer to that would probably be that Bruce told her, because I'm sure Bruce did his research into Clark during BVS and before.
That, and wasn't it like didn't Zod like blast his name
That's
all
true
over?
too. That's literally there. So I'm like, oh yeah. See,
I
here's the
mean,
thing about Snyder. What I noticed is that when a lot of people critique his stuff, it's answered previously. Like my friend Tristan from Nerdets Newsstand, she always critiques the killing of Zod because she's like, he could have put his hand over Zod's eyes to stop the heat vision. But that's established earlier in the movie that it doesn't work when Feora has his face in the ground and she's like threatening him. He uses his heat vision to like blast her hand away. So he's telling you right there it wouldn't work.
right. It's the neck snapping. I have no problem with because it needed to happen.
And he's killed
Um,
Zod many times in the comics.
right. Um, a lot of things that we've talked about this too is revisionism. And
Yes. Speaking of
that is
social
the one
media.
thing that is the one thing that DC fans, Superman fans have, are very much guilty of. You have them, anything they don't like, it's like, okay, well, it's in the comics, or this happened years, decades ago. So why are you now, you know, basically having a double standard perspective of it
But
when it
Britt,
has happened?
Lois had a series in the 60s that was a top seller.
I mean, her last series from Rucka and Bendis, it's
Crashed and burned.
yeah, it was so bad. They made it returnable, and it couldn't even reach the number of, to continue on with the benefit. It's like that's how bad it was.
And
Or
to
when
be
she had,
clear,
uh-huh,
credit where credit is due. They were trying something new with Lois. Granted, there was some stupid stuff they were trying with Lois, but at least they were trying something new. And I gave them credit in my anti-Lois Lane video. And I said, okay, so if the sales of this indicate to me that the Superman fan base wants her to continue to be the damsel for Superman to save. Because
yeah,
and this is why I say sales are the most important thing right now. If you want something to be a certain way, pay for the freaking book.
exactly. And that goes back to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Twitter is, you have Twitter praise, left and right for Chloe and Lois.
Mhm.
But even with New 52, she had a one shot
Mhm.
for the 80th anniversary.
Mhm.
And it was so many like, yay, hurrah and all that. And it only sold, I think, like 20K or
Compared to
25.
Superman and Wonder Woman that sold 80K more.
But you also have like other, and the thing is, the writer of the Lois one shot also wrote a one shot for Joker's daughter,
Mhm.
Dwala Dent.
Mhm.
And that one shot actually sold like, I think, 80K or something like that.
Mhm. You know
So
it's
it's kind
bad
of
when
like,
Joker's daughter is selling more than Lois Lane.
right. So it's kind of like, okay, all of these, tweets. And I remember that they actually tried to get a hashtag trending of give Lois Lane a book, or Lois Lane solo, or something like that. And it's like, and it was like, yeah, they gave her this one shot, and all of that. Well, first of all, it didn't trend, it was just a thing. And second, the one shot bombed. Then you
Mhm.
have the Convergence spinoff. You they promoted it as the original power couple is back. Yeah, trying really throwing jabs at Superman and Wonder Woman. Superman and Wonder Woman made power couple marquee like the thing. When you look up power couple, you see celebrity couples, but you also see Superman and Wonder Woman. That is their marquee, their name.
Yeah. Or it's kind of
You know,
funny. So many people, I actually told the other co hosts that they couldn't believe it, that DC didn't expect the Superman and Wonder Woman book to do as well as it did. They were like, wait, what?
they didn't, because so many, they are old school fans, like with Rebirth
They're
or
still fans. They're
Convergence.
still valid fans. I want to be clear on that.
Yes, they are, but the long boxes thing, okay, if they were actually supportive, DC wouldn't have had to have the reboot in the first place.
Which goes into, remember, I always mention this every week, but it's like my favorite part of that superpowered documentary when Mike Carlin is talking about, people come up to me, how could you kill Superman? And he goes, what was the last time you bought a Superman book? And they said, well, 2 to 5 years ago. And he goes, I didn't kill Superman. You did.
You did. Right. It's like this is what's happening. Even with, like I said, with the Convergence spinoff,
Mhm.
you had them saying, the original power couple, the real Superman, all of this with the trunks and stuff like that. Remember, he's the one that died. He's going to be written by Dan Jardins, the one that killed him in the 90s.
And the one who seems to be, now, to be clear, I respect the hell out of Dan Jurgens because he has contributed to comic books in a very positive way. I like him, but he seems to be a one-trick pony in that every time he's writing Superman or any he has to fit in some Death of Superman reference. Like he
Right.
has to bring in Doomsday. He has to like show the black suit or something like that. And I'm like, dude, we get it. You're known for the Death of Superman.
And that's pretty much it. And I mean, that pretty much is a, like you said, one trick pony, and it's a gimmick. No, for sure. You want to call Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship, even though it has decades, of buildup of teases, hints, or whatever like that. No, Death of Superman was a gimmick, like wholesale. And then you have the Convergence spinoff, and I remember on CBR, the users were posting of the forum. They, let's have this sell like hotcakes. Let's show them that we want the real Superman back. That to actually kill New 52 or make New 52 Superman go with Lois or something like that. Break up Superman and Wonder Woman. And even a retailer said that the Convergence book, didn't do good, and they had to admit that at the same time. But the thing is, with trying to sell this, they expected the Convergence book to sell like gangbusters, but
Convergence.
but they, it was unexpected for Superman and Wonder Woman to succeed. So what did you do? You sabotaged what was succeeding to prop up what wasn't succeeding, which is the Convergence. Then you have Rebirth. And the only reason why Rebirth happened was because of the Twitter, the Twitter brigade being so loud. They are the loud minority. It has been writers who have actually said that Twitter is a small portion, very small portion of the, wider fan base.
I think it was like Millar said it was like less than 10%. So I'm like, why are you taking the opinion? Why are you making editorial decisions based upon the preferences of less than 10% of your audience?
Because they see the likes and the, some of the editors and the writers, and that is what they're gearing towards more so now, is just the likes and that type of conversation. But it only lasts for a day, and the thing is, likes and posting pictures are free. But actually going to support, they aren't going to pay $4.99, $5, for a book. So if they can post the covers, like these bait covers, the Nightwing cover that DC just put out was a recreation of a meme of Damian turned into a cat and Nightwing, pointing and yelling at him or whatever like that. That is what DC is trying to gear towards, but it's like that meme was like 2-3 years ago. It's not funny anymore. So you're trying to, reach this audience, but you're 2 or 3 years late. Then you have Superman. The War World outfit.
Oh God, that thing.
Yeah, he has a body or whatever like that, but instead of trying to sexualize it or whatever, the whole first of all, it's a ripoff of John Carter,
Yes.
So
Thank you. I'm glad someone said it, but I
mean,
posted on Twitter. Okay, explain to me why this particular thing was necessary. And someone said, legit, this was a legit mark. We have to see how he and Lois, they dropped an F-bomb, but you know what I'm going for here. But and I said, why? And then they said, well, because they basically said they have to do this to like show there's still like romance in the relationship. And I'm like, if you have to resort to kinkiness to show kinkiness for this relationship, maybe the relationship is just boring.
I mean, it pretty much already is.
Already is.
I it is that they recreated the Batcat wedding uh cover variant cover where Selena and Bruce are tied up in her whip or whatever,
Hmm.
and he's like against the wall,
Hmm.
and they've done that for Nightwing and Batgirl or Barbara
Okay, I know what you're
too.
talking about.
Yeah, and then they have Superman and Lois. But I mean, it's first of all, it's repetitive.
Hmm.
It's nothing unique because you're actually recreating this same image with, it's nothing really unique to it. And the one with Superman and Lois is just, first of all, they look like she's pushing herself on him in
Which
a
that doesn't
very,
work because he's Superman.
yeah, it seems so awkward, and he's like, seems like he's not trying to touch her or anything like that. So it's not giving so much romance as they think. And yet so many people are posting that cover because they are trying to, in their minds, make it seem like, oh, this couple is so in love, this couple is, you know is having so much sex or whatever like that. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's within your mind, but are we actually, even though we wouldn't want to see it like that, but are we actually shown that? It's a lot of, with these certain couples, it's a lot of talk, but no show. It's a lot of talk of Superman and Lois being like the ultimate couple, or, you know, but you don't really see it in the story. You have these little moments, but it seemed like they're afterthoughts, It seemed like
Where
they're trying to make them this perfect couple.
Which is why the Charles Sewell book is so good because they didn't have to resort to that. They just had these characters act like themselves, and you saw that they work together so well.
Yeah, you didn't have to have um Diana, or you didn't have to have any other character like used as a mouthpiece for Clark and Diana as a couple. You didn't have to have Lois say, "Oh, Diana is this relationship is right," like how they had Diana,
It's truth.
you
Yeah,
know.
that hurts. As soon as I read that, I didn't know that. That's where it tipped off to me that Rebirth was just screw the new 52. Like I'm flipping through this issue because I had picked up a couple of Rebirth Superman issues, so I'm going through them. I see that. I put the comic down and I'm like, "Are you serious, DC?"
Because Diana is the goddess of truth. She's,
Hmm.
the truth and all that. So, yeah, they use that, and it's kind of like, well, we know for sure it's a mouthpiece. Even Dan Jargens, he was so, like, very much, um, he really just felt like he could talk, so much about he's going to destroy, New 52.
Hmm.
Like he wasn't even subtle about it at all. It was basically, this is what I'm going to do, and if you like the New 52, oh well. If you didn't like the New 52, then we're going to basically beat it down or whatever. Even with Tomasi did the same thing of, Clark didn't marry Diana because she didn't have a Pulitzer Prize, and it's like, okay, she's Wonder Woman, she's saving
She
lives.
doesn't need a pull. She's a literal goddess. What does a literal goddess need with a Pulitzer?
I mean, like, it's kind of like that's a man-made award. She doesn't care for that. So yeah, they did some very petty stuff, and it pretty much aged like milk,
Yes.
because Rebirth only lasted for like shoot, not
th-
even
3 or so years
year.
up and the point that people
No,
normally point to as the end of Rebirth was like Heroes in Crisis because that's when Wally West, who was the face of Rebirth, turned into a serial killer.
well, actually no, because Bendis came in 2017.
Oh
Rebirth
God,
was Rebirth was
I thought he came in
only,
2019.
he was 2017.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, I believe so. Because I know Rebirth, they had the double shipping, so they got to issue 45 pretty fast. But I know within like the first 6 months, Um, Rebirth had like, the shiny new ones or whatever, number ones. And
He
then
came in 2017. Wow.
yeah. So and booted out Tomasi and basically, so yeah, Rebirth actually did not last as long as New 52.
No,
So not only
uh,
uh-huh.
because here's what I like to say. And by the way, again, this goes to lesson one: big following and likes does not always lead to sales. Well, basically, what Twitter says does not always lead to sales, because we have this perfect example here. And it was okay. So you come in with a new 52, it brings gangbusters to you. Granted, it was not a perfect initiative. There were issues with it, but you didn't have to throw it out wholesale. So you do this event that was throwing it out wholesale. You're bashing the fan base for liking the new 52, or like Superman and Wonder Woman. You're basically saying your fandom doesn't matter, and then your sales go down. Really, it's funny how that works.
Right. And it didn't last but 6 months to a year. New 52 pretty much lasted 5 years. It could have gone a little bit longer. Like, if you would have had Charles stay on the book instead of having Tomasi purposely ruin the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you would have just communicated better. But the thing is, nobody wanted to communicate because they were so in their feelings of, I want this and that. Even with the writers now, they are so stuck in the triangle era of Superman. They're so stuck. And the thing is, the 90s era, and I think it was the early 2000s, was, well, pretty much, within the prime of the marriage, Superman really dwindled. So it's like, how can you like an era that dwindled Superman's popularity? You know,
And to arguably crash the comic book industry, or at least contributed to the crash.
yes. And then you have where they just will not let go. Yes, it is the first Superman movie, but they will not let it go.
No, and it was kind of funny that, and they claim to be like big post-crisis fans, but their version of Superman in the movies was pre-crisis.
Yeah. I mean, the only movies of Reeve that people only kind of talk about is the first and second.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the first. And it was good for its time, but they tried to do the same thing with Ruth, and it didn't work. Trying to have it as a love story or whatever, it bombed. Then you have trying to modernize Superman with Cavill, and it worked, because the general audience, no, Superman as a character, the general audience sees him as like a bore. That's just point blank.
Yeah, that's just the way it works, and they say as a board. It doesn't mean they don't like think he's iconic. It just means they think he's kind of lame. That's the way it
Yeah,
works.
the character himself is lame, but you can have like a bunch of people wearing a Superman logo T-shirt. That's pretty much how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with Cavill, he sort of gave Superman a little popularity boost
Mm-hmm.
with his look. Um, his attitude sort of, kind of gave Superman that modern, not so much as a swagger type thing, but some modern um that resonated with the younger crowd that wants things to be, in set in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the more whimsical type, happy go lucky character, he was a little bit more grounded. And you can have Superman grounded and he's still lifted, still flying, not grounded as in Lois needs to keep him grounded. Not that. I mean like learning, dealing with consequences. You actually see his emotions,
Mhm.
you know.
And here's the thing. Here's what people ignore all the time about the Snyderverse. And I use Batman as a perfect example. He inspired people to be a better version of themselves. Because you notice after Superman died, throughout all of his actions, that's when Batman goes, men are still good. After Diana goes, man created a world where staying together is impossible. And Batman goes, no, 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 no. Men are still good. Yeah, we fight, we die, we betray each other, but we will always do the better thing. And then even with in Zack Snyder's Justice League, for one thing, Superman inspires the creation of the Justice League. All of them are there because they respect Superman. Then when he comes back, you notice, and this was my other thing, there was this recent thing on Twitter where people were complaining that Diana was smiling when she was fighting Steppenwolf. Like, oh my gosh, they made her love battle. And I'm like, if you looked at the actual scene, that's because Superman just saved the day and is beating the crap out of Steppenwolf, which, by the way, I still maintain that scene where he comes in and the axe hits his shoulder and he's like, I'm not impressed. That was the most badass moment of Superman in movies ever. Ever.
And there is one small, it's very quick, but she says, or with Aquaman, and she says, "Oh, Kal-El," like
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
very impressed with him.
It's kind of
That
funny. It's like another part that I like is when they're fighting Superman in Heroes Park. She's about to do this at Superman. She goes, please don't make me do this.
I think that with those moments, you, okay, yeah, the death was kind of rushed because you didn't have him. If he would have had, like, maybe in Man of Steel, little moments with, you know, the characters, Justice League characters, as small cameos or something like that within Man of Steel and BVS before he died, I think that would have gave a little bit more depth of these moments within Justice League.
Well,
That's the only thing that kind of, gives criticism.
The thing about that is that, remember, there was supposed to be a Man of Steel 2 before BVS even. So is that because the original plan was Zach was just gonna do a Superman trilogy like Nolan did with Batman, and he came in, he did Superman, that was super popular, so they're like, okay, build the universe, but you have to get the Justice League within 3 movies, and he goes, can't I just can I just build to it in the more natural way? And he goes, nope, you have to do it this way.
Right,
So he's
because they
like
were
trying to rush to catch up to Marvel.
yeah.
And the thing is, like, yeah, the death of Superman would have happened after Man of Steel 2. So I'm like, okay, when people, and the thing about it, I still think he did it in a in an effective way, so it still made sense. Was it kind of rushed? Yeah, you could kind of say that. Like, the problem with BVS is that, and it's both a curse and a plus, is that it's combining 2 storylines. It's trying to cram Dark Knight Returns and Death of Superman, and that can be seen as like a slight critique of it. But when you look at the movies as a full-on story arc, it actually works.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that it works. It just
Mhm.
needed a little bit more polishing. That's all.
And
And
by the
that's the
way,
thing.
real quick, I just want to show this.
Not impressed.
Yeah, I had to. That's like my favorite scene, the Snyder
Yeah,
cut.
I really wish that Cavill should have had at least one more movie to close off, or show the rumored alternate ending or ending of Flash with him in
Yes.
civilian clothing with
With
Diana. He should
I
have
need that for
gotten
fan
a proper
edits.
closure, right? And proper closure, because Henry was so dedicated to the role. He just needed it just needed polishing. And that's the same thing with New 52. Just needed polishing. Superman and Wonder Woman. Charles, he knew how to write them because he wrote them in the perspective of the immigrant and the refugee,
Mhm.
of the outsiders. He's a lawyer. He was an immigration lawyer. So he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. And the thing is, with seeing some people on Twitter it was one person who did a live review or reviewed the book, and he was like so hell bent on trying not to like the book, but ended up liking and understanding the couple, even with Tomasi, you know,
Hmm.
writing it. He ended up liking it, but
Hmm.
of course, because Stan DC Twitter doesn't, pretty much will ostracize you and, you know, throw stones at you if you dare say that you like Superman and Wonder Woman. He had to basically, you know, still try to say, well, I still don't like them as a couple or whatever like that.
My
And
favorite are the people that I like this if I pretend it's Lois instead of Diana. Those are my
yeah,
favorite people.
it's like why are you, first of all, you don't know these people. Meaning, we are miles and miles apart. So why are you trying to, you know, bandwagon other people's opinions?
Hmm.
Whatever you like it. It can be controversial. It can, but it that's what makes you you. With you trying to basically be like a sheep, like a herd of sheep. That's what this fandom is. A herd of sheep that only follow in line.
It's
But
because
I
here's
remember,
why, Britt. Negative false posts get more attention than positive factual posts. That's why they always have to put a positive spin on it. I mean, sorry, a negative spin on it because otherwise it's not going to get attention, or they're going to get blasted, like you said.
yeah, I remember when someone said called the Superman and Wonder Woman fandom black sheep. And when you think of black sheep, at first you're like the black sheep of fandoms, like in any fandom, in DC, Marvel, or whatever like that. And
That's actually a compliment when you think about it.
when you think, yeah, exactly. When you think of that, first some people would think that the black sheep, like, oh, it's ugly, it's just this dark, like the ugly duckling or something. But then when you actually think about it, the black sheep stands out, and
Hmm.
it follows its own path. And that's what Superman and Wonder Woman is about anyway. They are about these outsiders being unique, owning who they are and finding their own path, finding their own normal. They aren't supposed to follow within the crowd, you know, um they aren't supposed to just basically compromise or whatever themselves to be normal. And that's the thing with Superman, is that he is so, how they write him now, watering him down to be, I'm just Clark Kent, and taking away what makes him unique as a Kryptonian and stuff like that, turning him basically into a white sheep. But with Superman and Wonder Woman, you can still be that, and turn it around as a positive and be that black sheep, the one that stands out. So yeah, if you want to call us a black sheep, go ahead. We'll take that, with pride, and we will continue to be positive. I love when Jordan, shout out to Jordan on
Yes,
Twitter,
shout out, brother.
uh J Rock 94, he comes, goes to bat for he's fighting every post with
Which
facts.
sometimes it could be like, and it was kind of funny. He doesn't let up to the point where he and I were. I said this last week. He and I were engaged in a debate, and you're like, you texted me because you're watching a Beyonce concert, and we kept showing up, and you're like, are you still doing this? And I even
Right.
told Jordan, and then Jordan's like, I have trouble letting go in these debates.
It's like I am in the middle of, like, seeing this concert, but at the same time, when I'm refreshing my timeline, I'm seeing just back and forth responses. They are darn good responses too. I mean,
Right, thank
just
you.
slashing this person, the pettiness or whatever. But it's just the fact that you have to keep going, because they never let up though. They always want to be right, even though they pretty much know that they're wrong and know that they twist things. They are, even when you present facts, it's like, no, that's not right. It's like, but I'm showing you an article. I'm showing you a link to that article, but they don't want to accept that. So when people post Superman and Wonder Woman and they say nobody likes this couple, or they say that it was a failure, or things like that. It's like, okay, go look on Comic-Con and look at the um sales of the first issue, and that was over 100K. Well, the pre-order said like 97, but Tony Daniel, he confirmed that it was over 100K. um Look at, and then you compare it to Superman and Lois with conversions, and that
30.
was 30K. So okay, so who, and then not only that, but you have, well, Halloween coming up, and people are going to dress with their spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends,
I
with
swear,
their,
the amount of couples costumes I see at Comic-Con, which is of Superman and Wonder Woman, it's astounding.
right. You have Comic-Con, you have and you have, I've done this for so long that I pretty much know the seasons of every event that
Nice.
comes about. So you have Comic-Con, but during this time of, you have Halloween, and I mean there are thousands of posts on Instagram of Superman and Wonder Woman, couples, married, boyfriend and girlfriend, or families. And it's such a beautiful thing, and it's so diverse. You see so many people just embracing this couple, and also they know that Superman and Wonder Woman are the power couple, or they say power family or something like that, and it's
Mhm.
so adorable. And you have the different ethnicities, different, backgrounds, ages, orientations that resonate with this couple. Then you have between November and December, you have maternity shoots with pregnancies, and you see the women have like little paint, body paint of the super baby on
Mhm.
their stomachs, and that's adorable, with the husband or whatever, having the Superman shirt, and she's dressed in a white dress to represent Diana having like on a Grecian dress. And then by spring you have wedding shoots, and you have Superman and Wonder Woman themed weddings. So it's an all year, all season type thing. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. Even a couple of years ago, I'd say um 2019, 2020, yeah, it was 2019. This couple was actually on a TV show, and they were getting ready for their wedding, and they actually posted their themed wedding photo shoot and sent them to me, which was, I was so honored to, post their photo shoot. And it was very beautiful. And their vows and everything pretty much was of Superman and Wonder Woman related. It was talking about them as individual characters, how they relate to them, and then coming together as a couple. And this is the thing that DC is saying is bad, though. Within their comics, they are
Mhm.
ignoring, even just as friends, they are ignoring it. But to the general audience, they understand the couple. They are resonating with the couple. But
I mean, hell, I want to read a comment I got on actually last week's episode 5 hours ago. Speaking of that, so someone says, "Bro, I seem to be the only one who thinks the new 52 is good. yeah, there were a few mistakes, but for once it wasn't a universe where WB and DC didn't like force Batman all the time. They actually gave Superman some light. I have always been a DC fan, but and never necessarily read the comics. I started reading Superman comics because of the New 52. People go for, and that's why I tell people off of that, by the way, when whether it relates to like the Snyderverse or the New 52. Hey, if you like, because here's the thing, the way I got into the stuff is I looked at the Snyderverse and then I read the New 52 and then I went to the past. I went to like the other like iterations of the characters to enjoy them
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to learn more about the characters. People don't realize that when you make these characters marketable to the general audience, if they really latch on to the character, A, they become a comic book reader, and B, they go back and become more of a fan of that specific character, whether or not that's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and then all of a sudden you have a lifelong fan.
Exactly. That I just don't understand the concept of, well, Rebirth. It was basically what Tomasi said when um I think it was Jordan Steele that asked this. It
Mm-hmm.
was, when is New 52 Superman coming back? Because you would think that no death in comics is permanent. But obviously they want him permanently, dead, because it will be bringing back Superman and Wonder Woman as a
Actually,
couple.
they brought him back in the Sideways book.
But it was never, you know,
Mm.
brought up again.
I would love that reunion though. That would be a hell of a book. The reunion between those
Right,
two.
it would be. And that's the thing, is that DC you can have your quote unquote classic, even though it's not classic. When they say the 1986 or whatever reboot is the classic, no, it's not.
Mm-mm.
It is pre-crisis. It is the 1938. That's classic.
Well, and
And
the other thing, these people that are fans of post crisis annoy me when they were criticizing the Snyderverse because I'm like, do you have any idea how dark post crisis got? Particularly
right,
Superman.
right. And that is how I got into comics.
Mhm.
Pretty with I have a small collection. I really do digital.
Oh, you gotta
Well,
pump those
with new
numbers, Britt.
with New 52 I did, I collected it. With the other books, I, have a few or whatever, but DC basically, like, I'm not going to collect anymore. When they, you know, did that to say that if you like a certain thing that we published,
Mm-hmm.
we promoted, that we, invested in, or, kind of half-assed it, but invested in, and to say that I'm not a fan, I'm not going to support you
Mm-hmm.
anymore. That pretty much made me stop wanting to collect, wanting to be so invested. You know, I still love the characters, but I don't love, that being a fan in DC. I don't,
If you take
because
away what makes fans invested, they become apathetic. And the literal worst thing you can have in as a company when is for your fan base to become apathetic.
and that is how DC is now. You have Superman and Wonder Woman too. Wonder Woman's book, the thing is, New 52 Wonder Woman is very, I mean, it's flawed with the whole Amazons raping and murdering and stuff like that. Yes, that was bad. You have Diana. She was still Diana.
Mhm.
She was young. When they say like she killed Happy's sword, she didn't even kill humans. She only killed like monsters, because that's all she was
And we
dealing
know
with.
monsters don't count. That's what Batman people always tell me when I say, "Well, Batman slaughters parademons." We're like, "Well, that doesn't count."
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It really doesn't count. You can't talk a monster down unless you can't. So, you know, that whole non-issue right there is just something should be forgotten. But
Yeah.
New 52 Wonder Woman brought a lot of people into um respecting her and liking her as a character. And the thing is, Diana was still that sweet, nurturing, even though she was young, she still had that within her. You know, she wasn't the den mother that within post crisis she was like this everyone's mom
Mm-hmm.
basically. You know,
Yep.
she wasn't like that. She was a 23-year-old in New 52, but she still had that. She was more of like a older sister, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what you really needed was within the modern age. The thing is, Wonder Woman, she can be your older sister, she can be your aunt, or she can be your mother. And but not all the time is being the mother a good thing, you know, because you basically take away that fire that she is supposed to have, that fierceness.
She's a warrior after all. And that's
Yeah,
the thing. Speaking of Zack Snyder, that was his thing about Wonder Woman because he made Wonder Woman that like older sistery character, but she was also that tough warrior. I mean, hell, remember in BVS when Doomsday knocks her back and she just smiles?
yeah. You have this tough, and the thing is, people are turning their backs on Kingdom Come too. And the only thing that I agree with Wad is that some things are taken too far, like Trinity. The Trinity concept, they are like totally, that's not what that is. They don't have a deep friendship like that, even though you're trying to make it seem so. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just if you have Clark and Diana, as quote unquote mother and father, and then Bruce is the uncle or godfather, that surface level type thing. With Diana being the warrior, it was a very bad time. She was tired of trying to go the peaceful route. So she had to, basically go to the go to the other side to try to stop it. You needed the war part. But to change it and say that she was war hungry, no, I don't agree with that.
Mm-mm.
She
She
was
was not.
basically like she was basically like a frustrated mother, trying to get her bad kids straightened out. And that's how you can look at Kingdom Comes Diana.
Yeah, or it's like in the new 52 because one of the panels that people always point to when they say they don't like new 52 Wonder Woman is that thing from Trinity War where she tells Clark, there's a reason why I don't have a villain list as big as yours and Bruce's. It's really because when I deal with the threat, I deal with it. And they're like, well, she's right there. She's talking about how she loves killing. No, she's not. And second off, remember, one of Wonder Woman's defining things from post crisis was snapping Maxwell Lord's neck.
That, and honestly, that was Jeff Johns' way of trying to make conflict between Clark and Diana.
Which again, we've talked about how that is stupid as hell.
Yeah, which it failed. So using that one panel out of like tons more that showed the total opposite. Like he said that she didn't have um rogues. But the thing is, it's
She
because
does.
she does, and they didn't want to use them,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. That's the thing.
So
What he's really saying is like, there's a reason why I don't have a villain list as well as you do. It's because the publishers don't care.
yeah. So so taking that out of context like that and not really digging deeper into what he was trying to say, you know, that goes again with the whole, putting negative facts out there or false facts, because you're taking this panel and acting like she was a killer. She wasn't. The idea behind that whole thing was trying to make conflict where he had to drop it quickly because it didn't make sense. And the fact that editorial still does not care for her rogue gallery. I mean, even now within her own book, Diana struggles with that. And a lot of times when people say that with her being with Clark, she will be overshadowed, 9 times out of 10, she'll be overshadowed in her own book.
And first off, when has that ever happened that she's been overshadowed. And I'm like, in again, we always talk about the Charles Sewell book because it's a perfect like example of this. Charles Sewell book, she was not overshadowed. In fact, what's kind of funny is that I'm going through the book issue by issue with Taladia, and he marveled. He's like, of that first arc where she's fighting Zod and Feora alongside Clark, and that right there says she fits in with his rogues gallery, and he does with her when she takes him to visit the other gods.
Yeah, and the fact that she learned Kryptonian,
Yeah.
Kryptonese, she learned the language. She can fight against the rogues, and I mean, she can really take out Clark's rogues faster than he can, his
Mhm.
own. Um, so yeah, that's another false fact, and it's this agenda that they are trying to push is even though they don't have, and the thing is, the people who agree with this or who, you know, don't have any type of prior knowledge is like, think for yourself and go actually read the book. Go
Yeah.
actually,
Or
you
watch the
know,
movie in the case of the Snyder Cut. It's not that hard.
right, something like that. Don't take a tweet when you know that this person has an agenda and make it seem like it's the gospel,
It's because
and that's the thing.
again, Britt, remember these, and to be clear, this is like something everyone on social media has trouble
Are
with.
guilty
They
of.
they can't identify a bias if they agree with the bias.
Yeah, is have your own mind. If you it, stop, and the thing is too that some people they pretty much put themselves out there when they question it too. It's like, oh, that really happened, or oh, what issue, or something like that. It's like, go look it up for yourself.
It's the
Don't
internet.
let,
Google it.
yeah, don't let anyone tell you this because they're going to, especially when they have a bias agenda going, they are going to tell you the wrong thing,
Hmm.
or or they are going to take a panel or a page out of context, and to make it fit their narrative. Sometimes, and sometimes when I see some people's posts of that, it's kind of like, okay, if you had at least two brain cells, you could tell that this what they're saying and what the panel is showing is two different things. You know, um, just like it was one where he posted the fight scenes from the Power Couple run and uh compared it to Dragon Ball Z. And
Oh
it's like,
yeah, I
well,
remember that.
duh.
I remember that. And
And
he even attacked Snyder fans with that post. So I was like, well, first off, what does this have to do with Snyder post? And second off, it's like I even told he was like, it was all fights. There's no like emotional parts of the book, and I'm like, then you clearly didn't read the book.
right, and the thing is, you he actually admitted to just skimming through the book.
Hmm.
I when these people admit to the things that they do,
And then deny it.
yeah, it's kind of like, did you not remember that you just tweeted that? So the people who are going at DC and saying what they want, um, like even the Batgirls book or this certain character, when they give these books to this certain fandom or whatever, and the sales, the return is like way lower than expected, and so many times that has happened for DC. At some point, you have to see this pattern, and you have to stop this pattern too.
Yeah, exactly. It's otherwise you're gonna keep going down with sales because you're taking away what actually does well in terms of the content. Now, the thing about that is that with a lot of these accounts, and I get what they're going for, but my favorite are the people that like market themselves as like experts on like Wonder Woman or something like that. And I've encountered a lot of these really I'm going to say it, really factually inaccurate articles, and then people say thank you for being that voice to tell us what Wonder Woman's supposed to be, and I'm like, this person is in no way an authority on Wonder Woman.
Yeah, CBR has
Mhm.
now been
I,
called out.
I love that article they put out.
It was actually two. It
Yeah.
was one calling out Twitter, saying that no, the these accounts or fans are putting out false information.
Hmm.
So like stop believing it. But then at the same time, CBR pretty much told off on itself is that some of their articles or even Screen Rant are AI generated.
Hmm.
So actually, so and you know the controversy between AI is that it um takes information, and especially with articles, and I've seen this too. It basically took information from articles and it revamped it to where it doesn't make sense. And it's kind of like it to turn it basically into a negative um, article. And one writer of CBR, he has a vendetta against Superman and Wonder Woman. I mean, just to the core. And you can tell that it's so repetitive what he says. And when I saw that this was an AI generated article, I'm like, oh, so basically the it's just regurgitating what you're saying and it's not even factual. I think he used Immortal Beloved and he used it was a it was another story that nobody really talks about. Um Whom Gods Destroy or something like that, or even
Hmm.
Red Sun. And it was basically trying to mix in these stories together, these bad versions, or even Injustice. These,
God.
yeah, these bad versions to say that this couple isn't right because of how Injustice is. It's like, no,
Speaking
that's an
of that,
Elseworld.
I was watching a video on YouTube. I forget exactly which YouTuber it is. Otherwise, I would shout them out. Actually, I'll see if I can plug up my phone. But the purpose of the video, the thesis, is that the Injustice movie is actually good. And then his examples, I mean, his reasoning for this was because his problem with Injustice as a concept in terms of the comics is that none of these characters act like they would actually act if this. Oh, yeah, it's by Godzilla Mendoza. So he says none of the characters in Injustice in the games or the comics act like they would realistically act if this happened. And one of the examples he uses Wonder Woman. And if you notice, in the Injustice movie, he said, okay, so Wonder Woman starts off as pro Superman, like rah rah rah, let's go. And then as soon as and then she starts to waver when she sees him slaughter Joker supporters. Then when Superman is about to kill Batman after they help Superman and Wonder Woman fight Amazo, she goes, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. So it's Wonder Woman realistically was like, okay, so maybe I picked the wrong side. Or it's like even the Green Lanterns and Shazam were like, we're out of this conflict. In other words, this was more accurate than the actual comics were.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, even it doesn't even take that much for Diana to realize that this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
From the very beginning, she would, you know, basically say it's wrong. What they should have done with Injustice is have, especially with the whole Trinity concept, is have Clark and Clark versus Diana versus Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
That's that should have been the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Diana shouldn't take sides of neither one. I still don't understand the Superman versus Batman thing. It looks to me just like the underdogs, like the powerless,
Mm-hmm.
type characters versus the more powerful characters. That's really what it looks like, and in such a surface level type, you know, petty way. But Diana, she wouldn't be on Clark's side if she was actually in character from the very beginning.
Well,
You had to turn her basically into Maxima or Cersei to to even have her this way.
That's what they should have done. They should have made that would have been a hell of a reveal if, like, at the end of one of the issues, it turns out that Maxima took the place of Diana, and or like Cersei did, and that's what happened because she actually did that in the comics. But it's and that's funny because I hear all the time from the Wonder Woman should not kill or Wonder Woman should not be bloodthirsty crowd that she's a diplomat. Okay, where was her diplomacy in this scene? Because you're right. She shouldn't have taken anyone's side. She should have been like, let's sit down and talk about this because we are the people that can't afford to start a war against each other.
Right. Or using this or using injustice as a sense of Clark, he needs Lois to ground him or he'll turn evil. When first of all, Injustice is a bizarro version of Kingdom Come. It the same, just like Immortal Beloved and Tom King's plagiarized version.
Yeah.
The same story beats is just twisting to make it work, to try to make it work, and it doesn't.
Plus, here's the other thing. Here's how I know that Clark with Diana doesn't lead to him losing his humanity. Are you ready? Because Superman and Wonder Woman was in the main continuity.
Yes. I mean,
What?
The whole thing of Clark and Diana will see themselves as gods. First of all, it's already established, in canon. They hate that comparison. They do not want to be seen as gods. They may be referenced as like I have the moon goddess and the sun god, because Diana's name is, of the moon goddess, of the moon. So yeah, she is going to be referenced as that. She is a demigoddess, but she doesn't actually see herself as that. She doesn't particularly claim it as how people, want to make it seem like.
Not
And
only
Clark,
that, there was the scene in Darkseid War when they're fighting Grail, and Grail says, or will it end? She goes, "Oh, it will end, Diana, but it will end my way. I am Grail, the God Killer, and today all of your gods die." And then Superman goes, "Gods? We were never gods."
yeah, they even established in New 52 when they're talking in Justice League 12. Diana says they're not like Zeus. They're not like the gods, but they're not mortals either.
Yeah.
It's established that they're just like two total different entities, or all on their own. Then you have Clark. He is a sun god in a sense, and that's what Diana says. He is a god in his own right because he has the power to rival gods, but he doesn't see himself as that. And that's also another double standard, because Lois fans like to use that to say the sun god fallen. I know it was like a Tumblr thing or something, but a sun god or a god falls in love with a mortal or a reporter, something like that. And it's
That's
like,
like the most
okay,
generic story ever.
right. It's like that is like Percy Jackson type
The
thing.
other thing, my favorite refutation I get is, well, it just turns into an office romance. What's wrong with that? Does that make it any less valid?
I mean, Clark and Diana is basically an office romance turned up to like 1,000
Well,
being.
yeah, because they are gods. But my point is, they say that as if it's like in any way a refutation, or as if an office romance is any less valid.
Yeah, they what they look at is just their powers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, to me, how I look at Superman and Wonder Woman, Clark and Diana, Cal, they are representations of cultures, different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
literally, as characters. And when people want to undermine that and basically turn it into a bad thing, it feels like you are being xenophobic and racist to a culture.
Hmm.
That's how I feel. That's how I see it. So when you say they are gods, you're basically saying that, as to a person of color, you are saying basically if this person honors their culture, their heritage, that they are doing wrong because they are supposed to fit into a certain viewpoint in a society.
Hmm.
And that is how Clark and Diana are seen. If they even, especially Clark, if he even, it was a big debate about even his name, that he can't be named, he can't be seen, see himself as Cal, because that will, he will lose his humanity if he references himself as his birth name.
Hmm.
That's how that's how petty and uncultured DC fans and Superman fans are. When
Hmm.
you want to take away the uniqueness of these characters, or to say that Diana, she takes away his humanity because she wants him to embrace, his culture. What's wrong with culture? you know?
Yeah, because I'm like, and this is what I always say on people's thing. Like it or not, you could like Superman being more Clark Kent or either, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he's a Kryptonian. His summer home is literally a temple to Krypton. Hell, his suit is a Kryptonian suit in some iterations. But my point is, he wears a Kryptonian logo on his uniform, on his superhero suit, when in every iteration when they make when like he gets the suit.
And the books aren't called Clark Kent
No.
um or Kent. Superman, or it's called Superman, and it's called Action Comics for, the action for. You don't see Clark Kent on the first issue of Action Comics. You see Superman.
In
You
fact,
don't.
the other thing is that remember, John's first solo series was called Superman, Son of Kal-El.
Right. It's like, okay, why wasn't his name, why wasn't it um son of Clark Kent, or son of Clark and Lois, or whatever? It was Kal-El. Why? Even in Tomasi's run, he said the House of L or something like that. Why didn't you say House of Kent? You
Hmm.
know, um, it's it's just a double standard. It's okay because he's with Lois, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's basically like she has him on a leash, that, oh, you can't go too far, into embracing your culture. Don't do that. But you can, basically have a few inches, like she's basically like having a lapdog or something like that. And that is so disrespectful.
Yes.
Um, with Diana too, now they're trying to have Steve because of the movies.
Mhm.
I really blame,
But
Patty
they broke
Jenkins.
them up too. That's the funny part. It's kind of funny when I was first into comics, like a long time ago, years before Comics League. So they had just gotten back together. It's because I kind of left during the Rebirth era because it was basically crapping on everything. So then when I come back in, it was like the week after they broke up in the comics, and I don't think they ever put them back together
They're not, no.
because Steve is one of the most redundant and useless characters to put in the Wonder Woman book. Now, he was better used in the Perez run when he was more of a father figure and stuff, but as a boyfriend, he doesn't work in this universe.
Yeah, so they were basically only together for, like, let's see, Superman and Wonder Woman was together for 5 years. They was only together for a year,
But
a year
even
and a
that,
half.
Britt, remember, they tried to undermine that during the New 52 in Justice League, where she's like, I've never forgotten I've never
Savior or
forgotten
something
you,
like that.
Steve. So I'm like, what the heck? And even I love
Well,
when Superman shows up and he's holding Steve by his head. He goes, am I interrupting something?
yeah, it's like Johns was starting the whole synergy of the movies. So
Mhm.
yeah, he was trying to put them together, or something, or have like a love triangle, because the whole his whole Justice League run was basically Steve's out, Diana's with Clark. Even before then, during the Trinity War or something like that, she tells Steve, she's like, and she's holding the lasso. She says that I love you, but I love you as a friend. I've moved on. And even in the unpublished published Superman and Wonder Woman issues 30 and 31, she said that when Steve was trying to uh, say, let's get back together or something like that,
Oh yeah, I
she's
remember
like,
that.
no, because I'm with Clark. Like, even though we're having issues, I'm still with him. I still love him.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh, and plus, here's the thing. Going back to that thing in Trinity War, remember when she says, "I still love you as a friend." She even says, "I thought you were my friend," because remember, this is when she finds out that there's a Justice League that was established because Superman and Wonder Woman got together. So she's like, "Are you kidding me? And you didn't say anything to me?"
well, he is the one that pretty much created it anyway. So yeah, why? That's the thing. Why would you even want to be back with someone that basically created a team to kill you because out
Yeah.
of jealousy or something
Yeah.
like that?
Exactly. It doesn't work.
That does not make sense. I see people who are saying that Steve like grounds Diana too, or he's supportive and all that. Like, have you actually read Steve? The only
He is
time he
not
was
supportive
he's
whatsoever.
not.
He is a
The only
crazy
time
stalker.
the only time Steve was supportive or anything like that was, when the golden age was basically him trying to get Diana to marry him and to basically be like he was like a house husband or whatever,
Hmm.
because Marston felt like, men are supposed to be submissive.
Hmm.
But and he but it wasn't something taken serious as a relationship. Then after that, they switched it, just like how they switched Clark. Is Diana chasing after Steve? When Steve ignored her, she, wanted to give up her powers and stuff like that for him. She, was crying over Steve and all of that. That ended up crashing her comics, where they had to reboot her, or wanted to cancel her book. They married, Earth 2, Wonder Woman, and Steve off. And, but that was the end of that. It's kind of like all of that of basically turning her character into chasing after a man, even though that was the beginning of her, comic or whatever. It's still that she evolved, and it's not, and that's what Perez tried to do. Is that doesn't make sense that this woman, female character that's supposed to um like represent female empowerment, but she's chasing after the first man she's ever met. So having Steve as her father figure, big brother, made so much sense. Then you turn right around, even though you made him sort of the same age as her within New 52, he was still like you said, he was possessive and, you know, um,
Problematic. Let me put it that way.
yeah. And then Rebirth, how she had to basically be put in a straitjacket and lose her mind for um,
Oh, I forgot
him
about
to take,
that. Oh
yeah,
no.
for her to be basically, first she was guilt tripped because she was with someone else. So she felt bad for loving someone else and, undermining that relationship. Even though, a couple of issues, you cried over him, you wanted to have the gods cure him, and you wanted, and also within the Finch's last issue, or you were talking about how they had her say that when she first joined the Justice League, she um, gave up thinking of marriage and
Oh,
kids.
I love that
But
one.
with Clark, she wanted the marriage and kids. So how do you go from that to, oh, I don't know what love is, I miss you, Steve, and stuff like that? They just totally 180 her character, just like they did Clark too. Clark, even in the animation, it was like he pursued Diana. He wanted this relationship with her, and then all of a sudden, to make it work with Lois in Death of Superman animated that movie,
Oh
it's
God, that
like
that crapshoot.
it's that he wanted to just be Clark, or Lois knows him, but you're straight up lying to her. How does she know you when you have lied to her? You're keeping this secret.
Well, plus also, by the way, so I've let it be known that I'm reading through the George Perez Wonder Woman run because I have the volume one, the omnibus. I'm at the part where she like gets all where she has her publicist call Superman, call essentially Clark Kent because he has an in with Superman. And it's the funniest thing because first she walks into Vanessa's room and she has a poster of Superman on her wall, and she talks about how she can't get him out of her mind. And then it's like the most amazing thing ever. And then as soon as she flies out of her publicist's office, she's like got the biggest smile on her face. She's like floating. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great."
Yeah, that was such a one. I mean, it was really cute with them both having this idea of dating, and of course, the bait and switch ruined it with Clark being an idiot. But that is the type of thing that these two that you want to call gods, they have such a, if you want to say, normal and natural relationship, normal and natural feelings to the situation, but it's just upped to 1,000. That's all it is. So for the Twitter people who say that Superman and Wonder Woman being together uh, takes them away from humanity, go read the book. They are doing very much normal couple things, or people interacting, becoming, friends with benefits, or, whatever you want them to be labeled as. They are doing just that, and any person can relate to that. So yeah, all these negative um, tweets, they can get the likes and the retweets and stuff like that, but the general audience sees, like, you know, the visual of this really good couple.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just one of the most well written and well done scene. And then, of course, it's kind of funny. It's the Superman book where they basically do the whole bait and switch. It's not even the Wonder Woman book. So it's like Perez was like, "Hey, do this," and DC's like, "No."
And even Perez, I think he also followed up with that, with basically Diana saying, like, I thought that he was, the one that will be with me, with understanding the mission to move the world forward, but he actually wants to protect like this status quo. And it's basically like a dig at that Superman status quo of him wanting to just be Clark Kent and wanting to, conform
Yeah,
to this normalcy or whatever. He was
yeah,
like,
he
yeah,
did.
Perez, you basically threw a jab that definitely needed to be thrown. But and then the thing is, they wanted to move away from that version of Superman as quickly as possible. Like, the whole rest of post crisis, they were trying to bring back elements of pre-crisis and trying to balance out more of Clark's identity, but it was some but then you have, like, the Dean Cain show, where it drove that Clark Kent is who I am, Superman is what I do, I don't care about Krypton, drove that perspective even more so. So now you have this generation of Superman fans who only think of that. that is how the character
It is
is.
the stupidest thing in the world because he's half first off, he's wholly Kryptonian. He was just raised human, and if they had their way, he would give up the Kryptonian part completely.
So where would how would he be Superman
Yeah,
then?
I know.
Like,
I know. His identity as a superhero is based largely on him being a Kryptonian. And my favorite part, by the way, going back to this, when people say Lois grounds Superman, he doesn't need grounding. He's Superman.
yeah, he doesn't need grounding. He doesn't need, well, if you want to say grounding, it was the Kents,
Oh
and
yeah, that too. But I'm like, and I said too. Not only that, he's best friends. Apparently, he's best friends with Batman, a human being. So I highly doubt, like it. I highly doubt his connection to humanity is dependent on who he sleeps with.
yeah, to even the Superman Lost book,
Hmm.
one of the spoilers or whatever was that Lois now has cancer,
Hmm.
and that is like his, well, Lex is trying to help, and that's his sole motivation is to snap out of his depression, of Clark's or whatever, his trauma is to help Lois, I guess cure her. And it's like, okay, if he is going to snap out of his depression or whatever and cure her, why isn't he helping create a cure for everyone then?
Hmm.
Why just her? Um, the Even with Rebirth, what you brought up about him not helping with
Oh yeah, that series is, and I'm talking about Superman. It's called, I think it's called Superman, Lois and Clark. It's the biggest character assassination on Superman because he sits out of like the Anti-Monitor invading. It was kind of funny. I had a buddy of mine on there that wasn't a fan of the new 52, and when I brought up that fact, he's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right."
and it was also a in Rebirth, I think it was a big storm, like,
Hmm.
and him, Lois, and John were in like a in the basement or whatever, being protected. It's like, you're Superman. Why aren't you going out to help? Like, if someone is out of power, or making sure that someone is
You can use your
sheltered.
powers to stop, like if it's a tornado. You've done it in the comics before.
Why are you hiding out in a basement with them?
Again,
And even,
that series turned Superman into a coward. I'm gonna say it. He was a coward.
yes, and even the drowned Aquaman event, he let thousands die, and the thing how that was written was so, like, how did this even get past editorial to think that it was okay? He he was written to be remorseful, I guess, but Batman asked him, but is Lois okay? It's like, that's all that mattered was, I know that I could have saved those people from drowning, but I had to get Lois as far away as possible. And he went all the way to the fortress. Like, it's like you could have picked up a whole bunch of people and took them
Hmm.
to the fortress too, but you made that conscious decision to let them drown to save her, just her, one person. And to think that those thousands among them was probably children too, is like,
Hmm.
you would sacrifice children for Lois. That is not a hero. So how does she
Hmm.
ground him when he makes decisions like that?
If anything, she's a distraction. Where
She's a
here's the thing about,
liability.
yeah. Here's the thing about Wonder Woman. He doesn't have to worry about saving Wonder Woman because she's out there saving people as well. So he's like, I know Diana's okay. She'll take care of this, and I can focus on say for instance, she can, if it's because like a villain's attacking, she can take care of the villain because I know she's a great fighter, and I can handle saving these people right now. So and if anything, and actually, again, the Charles Sewell book is excellent at this. When he asks
Hmm.
her, "Do you think we were better at being superheroes before we were together?" and she goes, "If I thought that, we
We
wouldn't be
wouldn't be
together."
together.
And that plays into the end of issue 6, I think. Yeah, 6, when they have to set off the nuclear bomb, and she goes, to answer your question before, no, we are better this way.
Yeah, it's that, and then she says we are each other's shelters from the
Yeah, I
storm.
love that one.
And then also during the super doomed, when she tells Lois that, it's like, Lois is like, did y'all make like a promise or whatever? And Diana's basically like, no, the world comes first. If that's compromised, we can't be together. So
Yeah, she even said. I think she even says, "No, we didn't have to say it. It was an unspoken promise. We don't. We both instinctively understand this."
yeah, so for this couple that supposedly would go against humanity, but again, within the books, it says the total opposite, that these two, if being together means that the world is in danger, they won't be together. They wouldn't be together.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to know, where do these like accusations come from?
What
When
I want to know, show me one panel when Superman saves Diana over saving people. I can give you plenty where he saves Lois over saving more people.
nothing can honestly top, just using those top three, is him hiding out for 10 years,
Yeah,
the and definitely the
because
drowned.
here's what I have to emphasize with that Rebirth series: the anti-monitor. Because I've said this before. I understand him not showing up in the first Darkseid invasion because the Justice League had that handled. That was fine. He's like, okay, you know what? I'm not needed for that. But when the crime syndicate shows up and says we've killed the Justice League, hello, or when the anti-monitor, the same anti-monitor who killed your cousin in Crisis on Infinite Earths, because this is the same Clark, I'm like, wait a second here. This doesn't make sense. Something is not working. You fought the anti-monitor, and the anti-monitor is fighting Darkseid. So this is way beyond the purview of this Justice League. So you just sit on your ass all day. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's well, first, we already know that the whole trying to have that Clark within DC was very forced and contrived.
Mm-hmm. Oh
They
yeah.
had to, even in Jargons, he had the Lois and Clark 2 backup with Action Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, well, first, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like he just had like a leftover story or something like that. But at the end, he talks about Damien. And it's like, if this is supposed to be within when he was hiding out,
How does he know who
um,
Damien is?
how does he know who Damien is? It just shows how
Well, actually,
trying
hang
to,
on. This is the Clark from pre-Flashpoint, and Damien's a pre-Flashpoint character. Wait, who? Because if Clark is talking about Damien, that makes sense. If John is talking about Damien, then I have an issue there.
no, it's John.
Oh well,
John is
that
talking
makes
about
no
Damien.
sense.
Yeah, John doesn't, yeah, they are trying to implement John where he just cannot fit. If you want to implement this Superman within the context of actual pre post crisis, John doesn't fit. This Superman does not fit. They are anything, basically this Superman is just jargon. If you take out everything after the wedding and just go from there. And I think that's basically what he said it was. So anything else between whenever the wedding was onward, yeah, none of that happened actually, as it was. Um, just to try to make John fit. And he still doesn't fit because his age doesn't match anything. You
Mm-hmm.
can't you can't put John anywhere in the timeline, whether you try to put him in there now or going back to post crisis. He does not fit at all. And that's the thing. The Twitter people always talk about um how DC is a mess, don't understand. But that's what New 52
We
was for.
understand. That's the thing. We understand why, and you attack us on social media. That's the funny part. We don't get
Yeah,
it. What's the answer to why DC is struggling? Here. Oh no, screw you.
yeah. You to try to have DC tries to have their cake and eat it too,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And again, it doesn't work. When
Mm-mm.
you are trying to pander to people, like you said, it's less than 10%. It's people who they want the likes, they want the engagement, the false engagement. Oh, and also some people even pay for followers. They would rather pay for followers than paying for the actual books.
Or you can actually have a bunch of bot accounts like posts to drive up engagement.
Right, that too. And you see that, especially with trollers. I remember when Conrad was getting attacked by this Wonderbat like troll accounts, and he admitted that he had like hundreds of bot accounts or whatever. And even if you tried to block him, he would use the same accounts. And it's showing that within no shipping, you know, um, fandom is perfect.
You
We
know,
know that. And you do have, some that are very kind of, got some screws loose.
some.
But to actually admit that you have bought accounts, that you have bought accounts, that again, I don't have respect for that at all. And it's very and for DC to know this, but yet still continues to pander to this kind of behavior. You're validating this toxic, you know, uh, behavior, but you're not getting any returns from it. It would be
Mhm.
different like, if this toxic attitude was helping, like the controversy that, you know, DC tries to have, or that like when they try to push Lois and Clark is like the best couple and have these, you know, uh, covers or something like that, or even with the changing a slave suit into something like that. I mean, now Kennedy is off the book. So, you know, what did that actually do for the book? It didn't raise the sales up for it, you know. It just basically stayed the same as it always has been. Um, so what are you doing? You know, like
You're
I said,
pandering again. You're pandering to groups that don't buy the books, and that
yeah,
it gets into my last slide. But let's move this along. So now let's do some comparisons. So like I said before at the beginning of the show, I'm gonna end the slideshow real quick so I can get to this. I have created I have what's the word, curated a list here. So I have again the social media for DC, for the Superman account, the Wonder Woman account, Brett's account for Superman and Wonder Woman, and then some Wonder Bat Twitter accounts. But I wanted to start off by showing this. So we were covering. And Nick and I do the Justice League rewatch. Where we rewatch like all of the Justice League. So we're on JLU, and there's the episode, the one where Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig, and it starts
I
off
can't
with
stand that
Batman
one.
rejecting Wonder Woman. So, and that's written by Paul Dini. So I made the joke that's basically Paul Dini telling Bruce Timm, "Stop trying to make Wonder Bad happen. It's not going to happen."
Yeah, it you have Diana trying to push like this guy that's basically showing that he's not interested, or having, Bruce act like this cool dude or whatever. And I think someone said that he does have feelings, but try not to show it. It's like, first, it just goes against Wonder Woman's character. She does not chase a
And
man, and
she's all about truth.
yeah, and Bruce is kind of like the last man because he represents the total opposite of, you know, of the good man that she would be interested in, or he is what she would fight against. You know, even within I saw a DC Encyclopedia, or it was like a Wonder Woman stickers book,
Hmm.
and it basically was saying that like Diana and Bruce, they don't get along. They're not like, they don't see eye to eye.
Wow,
You know, is basically showing that they are incompatible, but they, you know, can work together sometimes, but they just aren't, you know, compatible or anything
that's
like that.
hilarious.
So if DC can basically say that, you know, that yeah, these two aren't, you know, um aren't, they can't work together as how people are trying to make it, especially within the thing of the Trinity too. It you know, you should take that seriously.
Hmm.
Um, Especially when it's actually shown within the books too. Um, and it's not, and the thing with Wonderbat is so many people use like their head canons and fanons. Like one scene, that one scene of the animated show, it's, I don't know how you can romanticize a rejection.
Yeah,
And
he's rejecting her and they never get together. And plus, even, and I brought this up whenever they use that, for example, Susan Eisenberg, the voice actress for Wonder Woman, says, yeah, the way we were doing it, it was never meant to be an actual relationship. It was really supposed to be just them flirting.
even with her, it's kind of like, why are you, as a voice of Wonder Woman,
Yeah, why are you
why,
turning Wonder Woman into a flirty, into a flirty, speak to use your term earlier, temptress?
yeah, I know that you are like a Batman fan. She is, but don't use Wonder Woman as a projection for your likings,
Hmm.
especially when that is not Diana's character. She doesn't just flirt or be like a temptress or anything. She isn't like that. She is supposed to be, I mean, when Wonder Woman was the United Nations, she was supposed to represent, I think, women equality or something like that. And Linda Carter and Gail,
Hmm.
they were within that whole event, but
Hmm.
it was stripped away by the women of the UN or something like that, a group organization, because first
Oh,
they didn't like her uniform, you know, being the bathing suit. I was like, first of all, you're body shaming. Like, the Wonder Woman is
yes.
supposed to, she's representing, you know, women empowerment of loving their bodies in the first place. So you're kind
Hmm.
of, you know, contradicting yourself there. But just that idea of her, you know, with the bathing suit, with, and this was the time of rebirth where you want to say that Wonder Woman was in a better place with rebirth, with how this is how her character, but you have her undermining her relationship. You have her in a straitjacket. You have her losing her mind and
Hmm.
dependent, being guilt tripped by the dude, Steve.
Hmm.
And then you have her, you know, basically being codependent on him when she loses her mind. And I don't see Rucka's rebirth. I really don't see any type of inspiration within his run. The even the year one um run is a retread of Perez. You just have like, take out Julia and Vanessa and have Steve younger, but you know, with the whole Aries thing, but it still doesn't have that flair or whatever that Perez had. So that's something that I really don't understand why anybody would say that that is just like the best run when, that just showed how the Rebirth as a collective, they felt like they were so on top of everything and was so, like I said, hell bent on throwing jabs that they were cut at the knees,
Mhm.
on everything. Tomasi, sorry, but you lost the books and everything to Bendis. The Wonder
I
Woman
always
was,
say if they didn't sell, if your Super Sons book was the top seller, they wouldn't have given Bendis total control over that portion of Superman. I'm sorry, it's not my fault your book didn't sell that well.
yeah. And then Wonder Woman, Rucka, his whole thing was basically just bulldoze over New 52, and that was it. He didn't
Hmm.
have anything else to say but that. And then but Diana was lost, you know. Editorial, as soon as his run was over, that's when Liam Sharp had his Wonder Woman and Batman team up that didn't sell either. Even that, he had that book, and I remember when he actually he I don't know if he I don't think he did, but he said that he was attacked by shippers, and he like purposely said that it was Superman and Wonder Woman fans, and it was kind of like no, because we were feeling like DC kind of, made us feel unwelcomed. So why would we attack you?
Hmm.
And what we saw, actually, his book um was announced when Tom King did the plagiarized Immortal Beloved
Hmm.
issue, and that was a whole controversy. And he was actually attacked by Steve and Selena fans,
Ah,
but
see, there you go.
he put it as if Superman and Wonder Woman fans was attacking him, and he tried to play on that and up his book. And he even got a picture with Gal at a con with the first cover of the book. And it's like, you try to do all that, and he
It still doesn't
complained.
sell.
It still didn't sell.
But also, in response to Liam Sharp, but basically throwing Super Wonder fans under the bus. Here you go, dude.
Yeah, you, it kind of like a whole vendetta against this one fandom, because Superman and Wonder Woman obviously overshadowed a lot, and you can tell that it's a threat to a lot. So and that's the thing, to get attention, they had to bring that fandom in some way to throw it
It's
on the
it's
bus.
like when it's like when DC films constantly argue, it's constantly are like, oh my gosh, I'm under attack from Snyder fans. That's the way they can try and get sympathy, because what Sharp was doing is he's trying to go like, if I accuse this other fandom of coming out against me with hatred, maybe people will sympathy wise buy my book.
Yes. And he basically was like, he was comparing it to I think his name Sean Murphy's White Knight.
Hmm.
And he even tweeted out saying that I wish my book would sell this much, or like he was asking for help for promotion and stuff. And he even said at a con that he had a spotlight, and like 15 people were there, but it was mostly his family. So it's like, yeah, you threw a fandom under the bus that may have would have supported you. We wouldn't, but you just didn't have to do that. Like, what did Superman and Wonder Woman fans have to do with your book? Why would we attack you? That didn't make any sense. And your book failed. So you had no your intentions were wrong, and that's pretty much what you get, for
Hmm.
doing that. Um with
But the reason why I share
yeah.
this picture, by the way, look at Clark's hand. He's like the most, I don't want to touch. That isn't that the weirdest thing?
Yes, first saw this, I'm like, oh well, yeah, they it- it- first the artist said that it's his collection of couples against the wall, and it's kind of like you just redoing that cat thing, and they are in the same pose basically, and it's nothing unique. It's a blank, it's a white wall. I mean, it's a white space with a black wall. And you have these couples, but they are in the same pose. There's nothing really um vibrant with it.
Hmm.
Um Lois is holding the cape. I mean, I really don't know what this signifies. At least with Selena and Bruce, you had them wrapped in I think his grapple and
Hmm.
her whip. And then with Grayson and Barbara, you had them wrapped with a keyboard.
Yeah, but particularly, look at this part right here.
Yeah, his hand. He isn't with Bruce and Selena and Grayson and Barbara. They were like holding the thigh. With Clark,
Yeah, let me see
he
if I can
isn't
find the one
touching
that.
her.
Yeah, he's not. He's not. He is like. I don't want. He's like that picture of Keanu Reeves with his hand around that girl, but his hands like this.
Yeah, and then his face look a little grimace. It's like it's not actually a smile. It's a nervous smile. It's not a
He
flirty
looks like
smile.
he looks like he's like, please don't kill me.
Yeah, or touch me or something like that. And that's the thing is that you you want this couple to succeed, but you are making just recreations of another couple's cover. I mean,
So
that's,
I love how like apparently Clovis fans are okay getting the sloppy seconds, but okay.
yeah, it's like you are bigging this up and it's just a recreation of another couple's, it's nothing unique. Even with the um flying in the sky.
Hmm.
Superman and Wonder Woman, they can go out in space. Why are you making this such a big deal?
Wasn't that a
Um,
variant a cover of them once?
yeah.
I'm trying to
So
find the
it's like,
actual like leg holding thing, but it's like the yeah. But the point is, the other ones are so passionate and like yeah. Grayson is holding her thigh like this very affectionately, and then Superman's like, no.
I think you can look up Dick Babs and it'll come up.
I have to
Okay.
be very careful how I spell that, otherwise the wrong thing will come up.
Oh yeah, because
Hang on,
they
Nightwing, Batgirl. Here you go. I'll do that one. I'll do that one. Okay, where's that cover? Oh wait, yep, here it is. Actually, it's zoomed in, but that's another one. She's in the Batgirl costume and is like holding him, and I'm like, and even that one, he's holding her thigh very affectionately. So I'm like, wait a second here.
yeah, they have those let me see. I think I can see it. You don't want to type that
I'm
in.
concerned about what's gonna come up if I Google Dick Babs. Honestly, I gotta be honest on that.
You're right. It's true. Um,
It's the
uh,
internet after all.
that's true. Actually, I have it. Okay. Okay, you have it now.
Where's that? Oh, okay. I got it. I got it. Yeah, there you go. Hang on. So I've shown you the Superman holding Lois clip or cover. Look at this one and pay attention to this right here.
Yeah, they are having fun. They're like this
And
young couple,
even
you know.
Bruce, look at this.
Bruce is he has the nervous look, but at the same time, is still very like Batcat, you
Yeah,
know.
he's holding her thigh. He's holding her thigh. Clark, he looks like he's scared of Lois.
Yeah, and she looks like she's, just pushing up on him. It's And the fact that that is being bigged up as something so great is kind of like, yeah, you're acting very deprived of actually understanding a relationship. But you can have Superman and Wonder Woman actually did the same pose with Kenneth Rockefort, and you can see the passion within that, and it's like that is how you're supposed to do the pose. But with these other couples, I can Tony Daniel and another artist said that with Superman and Wonder Woman's intimate scenes, they had to either take them out completely or, revamp them a little bit
Oh,
because it was too sexy. And it's kind of like with
why,
these other
thank you.
couples. Yeah, and it's basically like with these other couples, it's like, so you're saying that they aren't, they can have a pass with it because it isn't sexy, too
See, right
sexy.
here. Look at this.
Yeah, you know,
Or it's like, wait,
that,
even this,
yeah,
or this, or my personal favorite, that one. Look at this. They can't keep their hands off of each other. Where with Superman and Lois, he's like, eh, eh. He looks like he looks like I look like when someone I don't want to hug me is hugging me.
even Adam Hughes Wonder Woman Trinity 141 cover, when they're like, I think the inspiration was for that cover, if I'm mistaken, was the yellow roses represent like their friendship or something like that, and it
Oh,
represent
that
basically like, yeah, is basically, that's not just
that's
friendship.
that is not how to. I have female friends. I don't embrace them like this.
And you can see like the hand, their hands within the lasso too are intertwined.
He's
And
holding her
yeah,
bicep. She's holding the back of his head very aggressively. And here's the key part here that tells me this isn't friends. Look at how close their faces are.
it's like, I want to kiss you, but I know that this is like, is basically like a forbidden love type thing, or again, friends with benefits. If you can have friends with benefits with, you know, that invoke so much passion, or even Wonder Woman 800,
Yeah.
that I
So,
mean that
so I told my friends that I told the other comics league co-host once that yeah, someone tried to argue with me that that was more of a sibling holding. I showed them the embrace, and they go, "Oh, so in the Alabama multiverse, then
it something like that, because I do not know who would, you know,
who holds their? I have a sister. Not once have I held her that way.
the
It's
whole,
a regular hug.
yeah, the whole sequence um of that.
It just. By the way, remember when Wonder Woman, when Steve had this goatee that made him look like Oliver freaking Queen?
With Bruce, she didn't even know she was in his dream,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was being such a, so
Hmm.
mean to her, and then he turned into the child, the crying child,
Oh
like
yeah.
literally a man child.
Yeah.
So it was like he was that, and
Hmm.
that's what Diana sees Bruce as, and that's what the writer sees Bruce as, and that's what Bruce himself, sees himself as, a child.
Hmm.
And to try to romanticize that, when I don't know how you can romanticize Diana comforting a child, even if
Yeah,
it is
I'm
Bruce.
very. You need to be put on a list somewhere if that's what you're doing.
Right. Um, and then Steve, that cover, Steve looks like
Oliver, right?
he looks like Oliver in Sons of Anarchy.
Well,
But
yeah. I mean Charlie Hunnam.
yeah,
But here's the thing, though. I'm like, so you're telling me now you want Diana with Oliver Queen? It seems like anyone but Clark.
he he looks like a he looks like Oliver, and honestly, just any um image of them, he just looked like a regular dude. Like even with Lois, she
Yeah, like
just looks
here.
like a random woman.
But and here's the
Yeah,
thing, I like Steve with a beard because in Rebirth he was a Navy SEAL. SEALs have very thick beards. So I'm like, okay, you know what? At least you're giving him a little bit more character. And then they shave it off. So the one time I'm starting to latch on to Steve Trevor, you're like, no. I'm like,
yeah.
what?
But the thing is, I mean, he still looked like Oliver, so it was just weird.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
true.
still weird. Even in that cover,
Hmm.
Diana's face is not really a smile. It looks very like she's questioning. It doesn't look romantic at all. Like, it doesn't have that. And
Mm-mm.
and I think that is why, going back to Wonder Woman 800, just the whole sequence of Superman and Wonder Woman. First, the art is just beautiful.
Jen Bartel,
Um,
baby. Jen
yeah,
Bartel.
and when even when Diana like holds Clark's chin when she touches his shoulder, when even Clark put his arm around her when they are doing the
Yeah.
Kryptonian projection,
This is not how you hold a sister or a friend.
yeah, the whole sequence, and they and the dialogue too of her saying, "Here we are." It's kind of like, okay, first of all, where are you? Or, and then for Clark to say, so much, so much beauty it hurts, and he's in that middle panel of him, like
Looking
his
at her
eyes,
very.
yeah, longingly.
Speaking of looks, let's look at this. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. Look at how like into her he looks here, and look at this content look as he holds her. Yeah, this is the romantic part. Even this, even this. Look at this one right here.
Yeah, the whole sequence is very much romance, and just that little bit of them, and the way that Conrad, he wanted it to be ambiguous. It's like, even with Immortal Wonder Woman, it's like you can interpret it any way you want. But the thing is, with Superman and Wonder Woman, you are going to interpret it as a romance because that is how it's
The
written.
way they're holding each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and this page went all over Twitter, all over DC,
Yeah.
Stan
And I
Twitter, and
remember
they were having a
it didn't
fit.
Jen have to like call out these people for freaking out?
Yeah, it pretty much showed that it's not that they didn't like, they want to make it seem like they don't like the couple, and like, uh, you're portraying betraying Lois or whatever. But this garnered so much conversation. It's kind of like, the back and forth thing, and that's what DC needs. They need that, you know, be civil. Well, no one is going to be civil, but
Mhm. But
that type of conversation is what's needed
yeah, you
now.
want fan
People,
involvement. Britt, we're still talking about Man of Steel, and that came out 10 years ago.
right? If you only in a safe zone, and I've seen that, is that people are saying like, Superman, Wonder Woman are supposed to just be like within their own bubble, like, within their own corners. But
That's not what a
the
shared
shared,
universe
yeah,
is.
the shared universe is supposed to bring these characters together to bring new ideas. You know,
In fact, that's the advantage that superhero American superhero comics has over manga, because manga doesn't the different manga series typically don't cross over
crossover.
the way this does.
Yeah. And when when they say this, they also say like it's safe, that it's comfortable. Yeah, you want to stay in that comforting bubble, but then it's all boring. Like,
Eh,
I think Will,
and wait, hang on. It's safe. Depends on the freaking writer, as we saw with Sewell versus Tomasi. Because a good writer can actually make a pretty compelling story. Whenever a writer says that's safe, and I'm like, you're a lazy writer.
Yeah. And for Tomasi to complain saying that Diana, she demands the spotlight. First of all,
Did you read
it's a
the?
team up book.
And the other thing, I'm like, okay, you clearly didn't read the book you were assigned to, because if you're taking over the book from someone, you should actually read what they had published before, because it really seemed like he didn't.
No, he did, or he kind of implied it. He said that he didn't want the like Charles was the honeymoon phase. He was like he called it picnic and rainbows. So he wanted something different. But the thing is, he gave Rebirth picnic and rainbows, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and your different is basically you wanted to turn this book. He wanted to turn the book into a team book because he wasn't comfortable with writing the romance,
He only
I
wanted
guess.
Clark and Lois.
Yeah. And then he was intimidated by Diana because you couldn't put her in the background like he did with Lois. Even though Lois did the Hellbat suit stuff,
Which was the
she was
stupidest
still,
thing. Here's my thing, Britt, real quick. Here's how I know that DC doesn't know what to do with Lois Lane, or DC admits that Lois Lane is a boring character. They keep trying to turn her into other characters, like how they have her now being Perry White right now, or they give her the Hellbat suit.
yeah. He actually, when you read that back, all she did was bake pies, and she was basically a glorified housewife in
Mm-hmm.
Rebirth. She didn't really have a significant role, and a lot of the Lois fans actually complained about that too. Even now, it's like they're trying to find a role for her. She is the editor in chief taking Perry's role, but that's all. The thing is, that's limiting her from, them saying that she's equal to Clark, where she can go out and basically be like Diana Light or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's stuck in the office. So that even puts her more in a limitation where she can't do anything, where she doesn't have anything else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's gotten to a point, or that's what post crisis is, guilty of, is that you tried so hard to make her have a role and you limit Clark too. That's why Clark is stuck in the Daily Planet, because he can't move on with them trying to keep Lois in the spotlight too. And for you to say that Diana is difficult, even with Tom King, he's saying that Diana is undefined and she's difficult to write. But he said that Batman is easy to write. Well, I mean, you're writing a character that's like traumatized. He's a man child, and
Plus, here's the thing: it's easier for Tom King because he's been very clear in the past that he had some traumatic things happen to him, and so he probably identifies with Batman. And more power to you, brother. To a certain degree, I even feel the same way. It's just
right.
it's just the thing is, a good enough writer can find a way.
Can
That's
make
why I'm giving him a legitimate chance with Wonder Woman, because first off, I want Wonder Woman to have more of a feature in her own series. And hey, if I'm giving him every opportunity around to wow me, because
Yeah.
here's the thing about Tom King, which you have to understand. It, he can be pretty hit or miss, but when he hits.
Yeah, that's definitely with his miniseries,
Oh,
as an
Mr. Miracle.
ongoing. Yeah. And obscure, he can really do obscure characters. I don't think he can do the, core, not too much.
Mhm.
Um, like with Superman, he basically has the same idea of post-crisis of the Clark, you know, is who I am, and Superman is what I can do. He's limiting him, and the whole just American way, in the wrong way type
Mhm.
way.
By the way, I love
And
that when people freaked out that in the Super Sons movie, they said truth, justice, in the American way. And I'm like, oh, they went back to that.
well, I think the writer, he very much is old school too, so he of course is going to put that. And I don't care about slogans because even with Superman's new slogan, he's still in this man of yesterday type, status quo.
Mhm.
He's not really being the man of tomorrow that he's supposed to be. So how can you have a better tomorrow when you aren't striving for that,
Yeah.
showing the character as that?
My thing on that is that I was always against the change because yeah, Superman may be a global superhero, but he's an American invention. He's a part of American mythology. You can't take that away.
Well, the thing is with the American way and how it was supposed to be was basically it was America is the land of the free.
Mhm.
So,
It's shorthand for all the ideals that Superman advances.
yeah, but now with the real world and how the world has conformed to like American values is so limiting and unwelcoming to diversity, unwelcoming, and it's not free, it's
Mhm.
not as, you know, that is why no one actually um agrees with the American way of how it is. If you go back to what it originally meant, then yeah.
Well,
But
yeah, but the thing is about that is that again, it's like, and here's my other thing. We talked about how Superman fans don't like change, right? Where
yeah.
was the complaining when they made that change?
Oh, it was a lot. I mean,
Well,
you really
I would
had,
argue it had to be large enough because here's the thing. Ultimately, yeah, it was a writer that was very like stuck in his times, but you know that like Jim Lee and DC had to approve that eventually. They had to sign off on that, so that's why people were like, "Did they go back to it?"
well, the Super Sons movie was actually done before. Animation is 2 to 3 years before what happens.
Hmm.
So they actually changed that. Yeah, so the Super Sons movie came out. It was done before the change, but yeah, when it came out, it was afterwards to make it
But
seem like they had changed it back. But I mean, they could have rewrote it,
they could have like
revoiced
cut
that
that.
part.
They could have cut that part out though.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that just like with Diana's origin, how even on DC's website, they don't know which origin to have her. Is the Clay origin or Zeus affair? They say it on Hippolyta's biography character description. It says something about like you don't know if she formed Diana from clay or did she have an affair
Mhm.
with Zeus. It's like, wow, DC, you can't even make up your mind with anything. You
Well, that's
know,
just
the
DC who can't keep their own canon in large. But let's take a look at some social media real quick before we wrap up. So this is like the DC main Instagram account. So again, I have DC Twitter, DC Instagram, and DC YouTube. I figured YouTube would be also beneficial, so we can see like how much engagement they get. And you notice, so they have like 4.43 million subs, and they can only get like 5,000, 21,000, 39,000. The only time they ever get like millions of views is like trailers for comics and stuff,
yeah,
but their other engagement is abysmal.
yeah, exactly. Their Twitter is, I think, 5.7 million, but
It is 5.7, yes.
yeah, and even for some reason, like unless they do the mean tweets or something like that,
Mhm.
even their tweets, they don't get as much interaction as it should. Like Marvel, I think has 7 million or 14 million followers on one of their
Oh,
accounts or something
Marvel
like that.
also has abysmal numbers on their YouTube because they went full into the lifestyle brand type of YouTube, and that doesn't work for them.
Yeah, They mostly do Twitter and Instagram, and their Twitter and Instagram has more interaction.
Well,
So
that's
with
true
these,
also.
yeah. So with the difference with Twitter and Instagram really showed when they had the Robin round
Hmm.
when you can vote what comics or whatever. So with Twitter, it could be a comic that had like 50% um more votes on there. But on Instagram, the losing comic can have more votes than the one that was winning on Twitter. And the one that was losing on Twitter won the whole round because of having more votes actually on Instagram. So DC's Instagram has, far more interaction because it's visual, far more interactions than Twitter. And that
Hmm.
shows that, again, Twitter is the less, 10% less, and your audience, and also the more general audience, is on Instagram. So that's the same thing with our Superman and Wonder Woman Instagram and Twitter. Twitter, because it's such a cesspool and just unwelcoming with the fandom, everyone is so toxic, and DC's fandom itself is so destructive and so, negative on Twitter. People gravitate to Instagram, and that's when we get more positivity on our Instagram, on Diana and Cal, to have 55.1 thousand followers of natural growth, of people,
Yeah,
genuinely
right here.
loving. Yeah. And when you look up the scattered Wonderbat accounts, they only were pretty much for DCEU,
Which is
with.
hilarious. When I love reminding people of this, when I'm like, Snyder was never going to put Wonder Woman and Batman together, right? He says it doesn't work. And they'll always go like, well, Snyder drew up new plans in case he ever comes back. And I'm like, but Snyder's straight up telling you it doesn't work.
I mean, Snyder even said, even with the new plans, he still had the thing of, if he were to ever come back, he wanted Lois and Bruce to be together, or
Well,
you
I
know,
think he threw that idea away before they even started with the movies.
yeah. But I thought that within that interview, he
Mhm.
said that he actually did want to still do that. Like, he threw it away for WB,
Mhm.
but he wanted that idea still to, you know, that's something that he still
Maybe I
want
missed
to
that.
do.
But the point is, he wasn't gonna put Batman with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's still that. And then there is a major, um as far as solely shipping. So like I said, with Superman and Wonder Woman on Twitter, I think the biggest account has like 1,000.
Mhm.
And but that is kind of like, it's active, but not as much active as, we visually are on Tumblr and uh Instagram. I think the Tumblr might have like 25,000, if I'm not I'll have to double check with that admin. But yeah, I
Is
think
it the
that
Hell
has,
Yeah one?
yeah, I think that one has, I don't think you can see the following of that one, but I'll double check with her and see.
Oh,
So
okay.
you have that. And um but on Twitter, there is a close account that has like 7,000 followers.
Mhm.
And that's mainly, what they gravitate to. You have these, Twitter, um just that Twitter traditional like fan base. So you're gonna have, but even that much to just have 7,000. If this couple is supposed to be like all time big, why is the biggest account, have only 7,000 followers? Then when you go to Instagram, that sole shipping of Chloe, I think it has 10,000. 10
Compared
point
to 55.1
yeah,
thousand.
so even if you combine the close account from Twitter and the close account from Instagram, or even accounts, bigger accounts that has let it be known that they quote unquote hate Superman and Wonder Woman, it's still, all those accounts combined still does not add up to the 55,000 followers that we have on our one Superman and Wonder Woman
And you
account.
have really, really good engagement as well.
Right. And the engagement, like I said, you have real couples tagging each other, sharing the photos to their significant other because it speaks to them. And that is what
I
the
love this.
account, yes, and that is what the account is about, showing the positiveness as individuals, but mostly as a couple. And to see all of the couples that resonate with Superman and Wonder Woman is such a joy. And it's like DC is really ignoring the potential that they have.
By
Like
the
I
way,
said,
good God, this is kick ass.
yeah, that some of the collaborations and the requests and that I get is really, really good. Like it it's such interesting concepts, you know.
Right.
Um,
I wonder who this Comics League guy is. He seems to know a lot about what he's talking about.
it's wonderful that we are collaborating too.
Yeah, finally. So it's like to give you guys an idea, by the way, this show, so we're on episode 10, we've been trying to get this started for like a year.
Yes. And time has not been our friend for a long time, but it's finally, you know, given us a chance.
I love when
And
people try and take this and turn this into a Wonder Bat thing.
yeah, it's kind of like it doesn't make sense, and the origin of it too, and the
Hmm.
way that and the way that some people like edit pictures, like it's kind of crooked, or it's
Hmm.
kind of like doesn't match. So you trying to slap this on and take it on, you can tell that it's not genuine. I just don't really respect or give respect to other, fans that do that. You
Yeah.
can make fan edits, you can make fan fictions and stuff like that. We all do it. But at the same time, at least put some effort, or don't try to pass it off as something real or something that's yours.
Yeah,
Don't do
exactly.
that.
But moving on, the last thing that I really want to talk about is general audience versus the diehard fans. Because here's the thing, you want both. Yeah, to be clear, and I was just having this conversation with my dad because we had seen the movie The Creator today. Oh, I think Britt may have booted out by accident. But the point is, in the world of content creation, you okay? Uh, now she's back. Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. So anyway, as I was
Okay.
saying, so my dad and I saw the movie The Creator today. It was a great movie, by the way. But the point
Mhm.
is, we were talking about Marvel coming out of it, and like comic book films in general. About how I brought up about how a lot of these people want to see. Oh, I want to see Mixelplick in a movie. I want to see this in a movie. I want to see this in a movie. But what you have to realize, yes, the studio is going to want the fans to come see the movie 100%. But really, at this point, when you're talking about movies, they're marketing to the general audience. That's why the Snyderverse works so well.
Yeah, the hardcore fans, they know, well, they don't know because of how messy everything is,
Mm,
but they know the story. But the general audience, obviously, especially with Superman or with Wonder Woman, they what they are giving, it is well received with the general audience. Just like um Ruth, that movie, Superman Returns. It trying to recapture or whatever the romantic feel that really didn't transpire into like the greatest romance is how they want to make it seem like. You wanted it
Mhm.
to be a love story or romance or whatever, but it bombed because no one, not everyone wants to see that with Superman. Like I said, um, watering him down to just this, you know, um, always smiling, the red trunks, whimsical. He is a whimsical character. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you
But
don't want to
you
go
have,
too heavy into that.
yes. And with Marvel, how Marvel has conditioned the audience. Um, Marvel pretty much has the audience in their hands.
Hmm.
Even with the kind of turmoil they're having, they still have the audience. But for some reason, DC has not, unless it's Batman, that's the reason why they had to reboot New 52 too. Not only because sales were in the gutter, but also because the Batman films made so
Well,
much money that they wanted the comics to um, be with that. And you did have that with New 52 because it was a more realistic take on the characters that brought in new fans. And if we see Superman in jeans and tee, adapting Grant Morrison's Action Comics, that first run,
hmm.
I believe that so many people will have a different perspective of Superman and respect him. It's not like the animation, um, My Adventures of Superman. First of all, it's just a cartoon, and it's a cartoon that's geared towards the Twitter audience. And again, like we said, Twitter is less um less than 20%, 10%. So that still, even with that, does hasn't brought in new fans to actually get their comics. You know, if you want these movies, cartoons, um, even the animated movies, um, what was the last one? War World. It didn't. The only scene that I actually cared about was the scene of Diana remembering,
Hmm.
um, when she saw the S.
Hmm.
That's the only scene pretty much worth for in my perspective. But the whole movie kind of like didn't have a point. And they did try to um sell Kennedy's run, Action Comics run, with that. But as we can see, no one was interested in the movie, so no one cared for the comic either. So yeah, all of that has to go into each other in a cohesive type way, and have a hook to it.
Yeah, and for the cohesiveness, this is really why Marvel has the audience and DC didn't. Because here's the thing: Marvel, even when they had movies underperform, they kept to the vision. DC throughout the vision after one movie,
Yeah,
the way they observed it didn't perform well. But what's kind of funny is I tweeted this out last night because my friend Nick did an analysis with inflation. BVS is $1 billion movie, the theatrical version.
yeah.
So I'm
DC is
like, wait a
very
second here. Mhm.
DC is very reactionary. When when you have, like you said, when you have Twitter that is so negative. I mean, this goes for any fandom, any genre, any sort of medium, even with music. Like I said, I was trying to see clips of the Beyonce concert with you and Jordan going back and forth with that person. But you also saw the fandoms, the music fandom wars. You saw the Taylor Swift versus the Beyonce fans, or this artist versus this artist, and it's kind of like, okay, first of all, y'all are in two different genres of music. So why are y'all trying, apples to oranges? And how vile you are with music. And
Yeah.
that's just how fandoms are.
And
But
the way I respond to these people
Okay,
is,
they're talking about fictional characters. Fictional characters.
right, but some people are trying to live vicariously through the characters because they don't have and it's okay, if you want that type of escape, if you are having a difficult time, that is what these characters are supposed to be. They are supposed to be that escape
yeah,
from if you are
100%.
having yeah, if you are having a hard time um with, real life. You can have that. But at the same time, don't bring in your real life like toxic nature, that negativity into the world of the comics, the escape, and turn that into something, you know, that you're trying to escape from.
Don't
Don't
attack
do that.
other people. That's the general thing. The way I normally associate with people is, don't be an a-hole to me, I won't be an a-hole to you. Fair. That's
Right.
the way I normally work with this.
I don't like it when comic stands call people like of the general audience normies. I don't like it when you're dismissed, when they are dismissive, because these people are trying to come within the comic fandom. They are, and if their avenue was New 52, if their avenue was Snyderverse, if their avenue was an older comic like Kingdom Come brought a whole generation, opened up a lot of doors for DC. That is basically the golden standard comic book for them. N- Even though they push Death of Superman, no, that isn't it. It is Kingdom Come. New 52 brought in another generation of fans, and ironically, both with Kingdom Come and New 52 had Superman and Wonder Woman, controversial and all. Doesn't matter. It brought in conversation. It brought in new fans. Even there's a Polygon um article, and it was a write-up of the New 52, and it basically said that that Superman and Wonder Woman was popular, and it did bring a generation of new fans. But because DC was reactionary to the Twitter complaints, that loudness, you basically, shunned this new generation, and now you're right back to where you were, where sales are basically flat. I think digital sales are basically like 10% plateau or whatever, is like flat. And then, you know, regular physical copies, they have to reboot basically like every 2 to 5 years. So yeah, so you're in that same state. Now, am I saying that the New 52 and Superman and Wonder Woman is perfect? No, because
It's
like I
perfect
said,
up until Tomasi gets involved.
right. No, it needed polishing, it needed more push. But like that article clearly stated as fact, it did bring in a new generation, and you see it within the general audience. You see it on my Instagram. You see that you have the Halloween, families, even just cosplayers, like you said, within Comic-Con.
Yeah.
They're, you know, you have this audience right here that is ready to understand these characters, want to read the characters, but you're shunning an idea because I guess it takes away from a preferred idea or the comfortable idea, traditional. So you want to shun it, but you're just losing out on money.
Yeah,
No.
doesn't make sense. But I'll leave you guys with the story. So speaking of Comic-Con, I was at Comic-Con one year. This is the first year I went as someone that's like really into comics and did the show. So I happened to be talking to DC artist David Finch, fantastic dude. So I asked him, Wonder Bat or Super Wonder? He responded with Superman and Wonder Woman. He goes, of the two, no, she works better with Superman. And I'm like, thank you.
Yes.
And I also asked him, so what do you think of the Snyder Cut? He goes, if they just kept the course with the Snyder Cut, DC would be in a better place.
Yeah, it's simple as that.
Actually, DC Creative's now on my side.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, well, I guess that is why some creators have left DC too, because
I know.
especially the big top creators.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok. I'm like, I did not see Tomasi. I saw coming because of how they screwed him with Super Sons, but I was like,
which was
okay,
deserved.
Johns, Fabok, Meltzer. It's like all of the big talent that bring people to DC
Has left. I really don't know how DC is going to recover from, losing your basic all stars. I know they have
it's like when Image showed up.
this. Basically, this is a rinse and repeat of that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's astounding. It's going to be interesting to check this out because it's legit. Yeah, I know it's kind of funny. So I said last week, I think we're due for another Image revolution, and then the few short days later, this gets announced, and I'm like, I am clairvoyant.
Yeah. If DC wants to gain, they need it. They need the financial support. They need something, to really keep them, I guess, in the eye of entertainment interest.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's controversial, if they feel it is, don't tease it. Just have Superman and Wonder Woman in an Elseworld, or they brought
Ongoing
Elseworld.
Elseworld. Keep it going.
Even though Elseworld was Black Label or whatever this is, they've already had Elseworlds before they slapped the label on it anyway. But do that, or something like that to keep that conversation going, because obviously it is interest. Even for those who claim they hate it, they are very much interested and will hate buy. They will buy it.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. If you hate it so much, stop talking about it.
Right. They talk more about Superman and Wonder Woman than what they actually like. But
It's,
yeah,
it's the same thing with the anti-Snyder crowd. For a group that hates Snyder so much and wants him to disappear from the conversation, why do you keep talking about Zack Snyder?
exactly.
But so that's where we're gonna leave it this week. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, become a member of Comics League, and you get a bunch of early content. You get to vote on future Under Two Capes episodes. Britt, it was a pleasure. So what stories can you tease us with?
Okay, so I have one for Austria. It's a bedtime, well, the title is Bedtime Love Story. And it's basically Diana telling Austria a bedtime story. And it is a retelling of how her and Clark met, but using different characters, having fun with it. And
That's
it's,
good.
yeah. And then I have the Athens story. I'm almost done with this
Yes.
chapter finally. I am so happy to when I'm, at least one paragraph away from finishing these chapters, because my mind wants to add so much more to it. It's like, no, just stop here and, finish that. So yeah, I have those. And then other one shots that I am actually going to upload tomorrow. Um, Very exciting. And they will also be up on Tumblr too. Little short stories.
Yeah, I can't wait for it because for those that don't know, I get the previews
Yes,
because
you
we're
do.
friends. So, so it meets with the self-proclaimed Lord of Comics itself. It meets with my approval. So stay heroic, everyone, and we will see you in the next one. Remember, Wonder Bat is non-canon.